What's going on with you?
Yo, another day in the lab, baby. So it's always a good day.
Oh,
it's always a good day when we in the lab. You want policing to be better in your communities? The best policing that you can that can happen in any community are people that's actually from the community and that.
Once again, Rick, host BNY podcast, now known as What Happened Week with BNY Dev. How you feeling, man?
I'm in here.
What's good? Comment section.
Yeah.
Do we drag our people down when sometimes they don't deserve it? For sure, absolutely. In this situation, this man deserves every single dragging that we can do because this is not an example of us.
But you got the angles. You got the knowledge of the game.
This is where you're getting at the IQ.
Down. Like he's telling you what's going on. How he was a bad husband. How he was just doing things his way. He's apologizing to his wife like, yo.
Pat ourselves on the back for that one because we ain't giving yourself awards. I mean, who is?
Yeah, no more.
Hey. Get that Bonaparte playing. Love to see it. Love to see it.
We are live.
Almost. Not yet, though. Not yet.
Well,
Not yet.
the mic's
Not
on.
yet. Now we're live, officially.
There we go.
He's here, everybody.
Yeah, I'm here.
Commissioner Gilbert Bowling. So no need to.
Where's the round of applause?
Yeah, not yet. Not
You
yet.
don't have
Not
one of
yet.
those
Not
like
yet.
the little buttons you hit that go. Oh.
I got
Yeah,
one here.
we got those.
Yeah, we got that. He's here. So everybody asking, is he gonna show up? Is this that, and the third? You know,
I'll
'cause
show up.
I had to reschedule a podcast early in the week, but that's for different reason. But without further ado, Commissioner Bowling, welcome to the podcast. Round of applause for you.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. AJ,
Yes. Go ahead. Sorry. Somebody said we can't hear you or we can't hear you.
we can hear you. We
Got
can
you.
hear you.
Making
There
sure.
it is. There it is. What's going on? Comment section. AJ, how you doing, man?
Feeling great, man. It's been a
Yeah.
great week.
Absolutely. Welcome back.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. How's the week been?
It's been hectic. This is my long week. I had to work a lot this week, so
Yeah.
you know I only work 12 days a month, but this is my part of my 12.
God. That's that good government check right there.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, government hours.
Good
BJ, can I call you that?
stuff. You absolutely can.
All right, hey, we're on a first name basis now. Check that out.
Always.
Hey, how's your week been?
It's been, it's been an interesting week. Tuesday evening after the commissioner meeting, we had a little tornado step. I didn't tell you all that earlier as we were talking. We had a little tornado that touched down through Dentsville.
Yeah.
Saw that.
Came
Yep.
right through the farm, caught one of our barns and took it down to the ground. I was out there at 11:30 at night in flip-flops and pajamas, getting some cows out of a barn and trying to make sure we didn't have too much damage on the farm, but we got everybody out okay, and we're just recovering from it. So
That's good. Not just a commissioner, also a farmer too, as well,
and then
by trade.
and it's early voting, so it's been a nonstop. Just came from early voting tonight, so
How's that been?
it's been good. I think there's a lot of motivated folks out there to run for office. It's good to see. My first time running was for commissioner last time. It's a different experience this time. You kind of see a little bit more, but it's I would say makes you feel good to see people that want to be involved in their government getting out there and getting their families out there. A lot of people have their mom out there, their dad, their brothers and their sisters going out asking for votes. I mean, that's democracy, man. It's where it's at. You know what I mean?
That's good, especially with local elections too, as well. I find those to be, especially walking out my door every day, to be a lot more important than a lot of things that are going down in Washington, which is important too as well. But the votes that you make here, I mean, obviously we'll get into it tonight with a few things, but it's directly affect our day to day. So.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely politics is, and I've learned that over the last 4 years that the decisions you make or the lack thereof impact people's everyday lives, and the closer you get to the people, it can be challenging, and that's one thing when I decided to run for office. That some advice I was given is the I don't want to say lower in government because really nothing's lower or higher, but the more local you are, you're going to get the pothole calls, the speed bump calls, the stuff about the schools calls, and when you get to like positions like Congressman Hoyer, you get the big level. I say big level stuff, but like stuff about foreign policy and stuff like that. But this local stuff, people realize that impacts their everyday lives. So those decisions you make, those yes votes or no votes, Those are a big deal, especially as a commissioner when you're pulling 20% of the vote. You know, you can be the president, but you don't have 3 votes. That's what moves it forward.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So
yeah, we'll get into all that tonight.
Thanks, by the way, Left Witch. I seen the comment. I appreciate it.
looks like a beastie
He
boy.
said I look like a beastie boy.
Comment section, Mr. Leftwich, Kelly, Zach Ball, how you doing too as well? Angela, always good to see you on the comment section here. At
Well,
BNY.
I can read the questions right here.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you can absolutely.
You mean answer that one, or you this is your podcast, man? I don't want to be hijacking your.
We're here together. It's a conversation, so you see something you want to address.
Actually,
feel
the
free.
broadband, 'cause that's been like my people say that's my thing. Well, I can tell you with the broadband, and I'll answer your question directly. When I came into office, my very first town hall was about broadband. It was down by Loughton, and I had a packed room, 150 people.
Mm-hmm.
And this is before the pandemic, and people they want it, and we made it as a priority. It was like it's like second meeting we had. We set up a task force and said, not just a task force just to talk about doing it. We want specific deadlines to be met. And I'm telling you, we hit the ground running, and we got money. We're now at like $20 million in local, state, and federal money that have come in, and private sector partners. And it's really taken off. We got people that have already been, lit up with Think Big. They've already over in Nanjemoy and Cobb Island or Cobb Neck. To answer your question about fair competition with broadband, and I'm not sure if he's asking about fair competition as far as the areas to be served, or is the company that would be putting the broadband in the ground. So I answer both sides. So as far as where the people will be served, we identified part of the task force was to bring people from the community in that lived in the areas that had the most need for it, which was my district, District 1 and District 2. And we formed a task force, and they identified places in the county that didn't have internet service by way of community outreach, town halls, putting surveys out. Because I'll be honest with you, one thing I found out really quickly is electricity, telephone lines are regulated by the federal government. Broadband is not. Internet access is not. So if it doesn't fit the business plan of these providers, they're just not going to do it. So, and they wouldn't provide us with data. They had data on who has service and who didn't. Well, the companies wouldn't provide us with that data. We had to go out and, from the ground up, generate who had it and who didn't. And that's some work. So once we got the data together, we figured out where the people didn't have it. Then we broke it down to 3 different areas. One area was people that had no service nowhere near them. Like there was nothing even close. The second area was people that were close to it, but it didn't reach them and where they lived. And I'll give you, just to kind of give you an example, where I live, I live in a very rural part of the county, but there's a neighborhood at the end of our road, and that neighborhood has broadband. It butts up to our farm. We don't have it. Literally, my brother can look through the woods and see a neighbor that lives in that neighborhood. He has it, and we don't have it 100 feet away. So that's another area where you're close, but it just doesn't meet it. And part of the reason for that, and what they're telling us from the companies was it didn't meet their business plan. Like there wasn't enough density for them to run the line and make it there. So that was the second area we established. The third area were places that, say, if you lived way off the road, service ran along the county road, but it didn't come. You couldn't get it back to your house without some large amount of money to pay to run the line all the way up your road, say, if you lived a quarter mile off the road. So that was the area 3. So the next step after we identified the areas was to go find out where we could get money. So we found the first grant we got was for close to $10 million. It was mostly for places that didn't have any internet anywhere. It was very specific. That's how the money had to be spent, and that's what spurred us doing Nanjemoy and Cobb Neck. And Think Big came in because since there was no providers there, we had to go find a third party that would bid out and be willing to do it. Best bang for the buck. That's where Think Big came in, and they started implementing that part of the internet process. Well, then we actually kept applying for more grants, and we got a grant for long driveways, and we put that in. Now we just got this recent grant from the governor's office for another
$10 million, right?
Another $10 million. Yeah. This is for areas that are close but not right there, and this is where the partners with Verizon and Comcast come in, because like Verizon's in the neighborhood beside us. Now they will be incentivized to come further down our road and provide the service to people that live, a little further down. At the end of the day, this is, I think, one type of solution, but ultimately, when you think about it, it needs to be regulated by the federal government, because if it's not going to fit their business, we need to force, like with electricity. I'm sure it didn't fit their business plan to go all the way down to Cobb Island and put electricity in, but they federally regulate it, and they had to. So, and there's arguments on both sides where you move into the country, do you expect the other taxpayers to pay to subsidize for you to have internet service? And my response to that is, well, internet service isn't just about watching movies. It's about teleworking. It's about health. It's about fire and EMS, all these different things.
Schools.
And school, like education. And I think what happened with the pandemic is it like magnified this like 20 times. And one of the challenges we've run into is they're running out of material, supply chain issues. But because we were so far ahead of the game by starting this when we first got in, we are ahead of it and have the stuff in stock down here in the county. And now it's just a matter of making sure it's evenly and fairly distributed. I know that was a long answer, but it's been really a baby of mine over the last 4 years, and I'm pretty proud of it.
Yeah, it's been a lot of work, especially with since you've been in office too as well, with everything you've been trying to do as far as broadband. So look at some of these comments. Jamila, how you doing today? It's about education, student, and family access. So where do you see the future for this going to, especially with this new $10 million grant? What is the future of broadband for Charles County?
I think we are going to get a lot of people served with the money we've gotten, and what's crazy is now, and see, this is, and I won't say the name of the company, but about a month and a half ago, I got contacted by one of the companies, the big companies, and said we would like to partner with you, and they actually provided some of their internal data as to where service is and where it isn't. And in my mind, I'm not stupid. We have a lot of money out there. So now, if you're a provider, you want those people to you want those people to use your service. So now you're gonna say, okay, yeah, I'll partner with you now, because now all these new customers. Because the thing is, the person that puts the lines in the ground own the lines. So if Verizon puts the line in the ground, your service is gonna be through Verizon. If Comcast puts your, in the ground, Think Big does, it's going to be Think Big. So now they see this big subsidy coming in. They're like, oh, I want to capitalize. Because now where their business plan didn't meet, now they're getting subsidized, and now it meets it. So now they want to jump on it, because now all these customers are going to open up to them, which is a really good thing for the community. In my mind, the future, we're in an area, in the metropolitan area, where I think this is going to help fix the problem. But you have some areas around the country, I think it's bigger. I think it's federal regulation that's going to make this really happen. It's something you're going to have to go to Congress about. And let me tell you something about lobbyists. This is one of the big lobbies up there that they don't want to be regulated. But I think ultimately outside, if you're talking about a nationwide level, I think it's going to be federal regulation. But here, this $20 million, and I know people are like, man, you see you got all this money, but I haven't got internet yet. I'm like, it takes time. Rome wasn't built in a day. It's, a lot of these things take time, and we're starting to reap the benefits of this, the investments we've made, in our first year of office. You know what I mean?
How much time are we talking?
Oh, man, I hate to give timelines, but I think.
And I got another question for you too. You said a lot there, so.
No, there's no worries. I mean, because a lot of this stuff, it's important to me because it affects everybody, and I'm constantly getting calls, texts. Hey, what's going on the internet? I would like to say my second term. That we will get a lot more people served, because we'll have, and I'll tell you, one of the challenges we're running for people that are listening is right-of-ways. You can be in a neighborhood where, say, I'm the first neighbor coming in the drive, okay? I don't like my neighbors. I don't have to grant access for them to run the lines in the ground through my yard to get to the rest of my neighbors. And I can be a real pain for getting to your back neighbor, and we're running into some of those problems for various reasons. And some of the places we're going, yeah, we can go on the
dirty,
but
dirty.
It's happening. It's happening, and I will tell you,
You got names?
No, let me tell you something about being in Charles County for a long time. Everybody knows somebody and knows somebody. But what I'll say is, one of the things that in partnering with SMECO is we're able to go on the electric lines and run it on electric lines. But some of these places don't have electric lines that are up and can get back to them. So that's a challenge we're running into that, as far as the community goes, it can help us with. And we're telling communities, listen, you need to talk to your neighbor. And that's one big problem we're running into down in Nanjemoy is right-of-ways. So I think I answered that question. I didn't.
So a couple here too as well. So you mentioned a provider that you've been having conversations with. But you wouldn't mention a name.
The one. Well, it's Comcast. Have reached out to me. and said, "Hey, we want to be more of a partner." I mean, Verizon's working with us too, but my specific conversation was with a Comcast representative that said, "Hey, they actually provided information and proprietary, what they were calling proprietary information when we first started. Now they're providing that to us and saying we want to be partners."
Okay. Jamila, another question here too as well.
How will you keep broadband competitive to ensure rural families aren't bound to poor service of a single provider?
I mean, you're talking, it's not just rural areas. I mean, some people that live I don't live in, Waldorf, so I don't know, but I'm pretty sure that whoever owns your line, that's who you're getting. So if Comcast owns your line, you're getting Comcast. I don't know the specific answer to that, but that's definitely something to think about. One thing I learned is the Maryland broadband, it's Maryland broadband something, where the state government has lines in the ground, and they actually own the lines. That's a really good question. I'm going to take that back. I'm going to take that back to some of our experts and get back to you, Jamila. Because one thing we're trying, and one of the challenges we ran into when we came in was the administration, some of the county employees told us they tried this 4, 5, 6 years ago and basically invested money into a company that just was fly by night and just abandoned it. And they, it was a disaster. So this time when we signed we had very specific benchmarks that need to be made, and we held this think big company, and they've been great. They've been working with us, and they're actually doing a lot of things for some nonprofits, making sure that they get affordable access. So that's a good question. I'll follow back up with some of our staff. Just don't let me forget. And actually, if you put my email address in the chat, people can follow back up with me with any questions. I just don't want to miss anything.
Okay.
You want me to put it in there?
Yeah, it's bowling, BOWLING, and a second G on the end.
Okay. BOWLINGG.
Just 2 G's, right?
Yep.
All right. At Charles County, spelled out, MD.gov. And I'll give you a second one because it's my secretary that makes sure I answer my stuff.
She's been great, by the way.
Julie?
Yeah.
She is delightful.
Yeah, it was great work on her to get it set up.
She makes the wheels. I mean, I tell you what, county staff's incredible. I'm going to give that to you.
Can you pin that?
I told you I was a squirrel, man, so I'm going to give you.
Go ahead. Yeah.
It's Losh, LOSH, J, at charlescountymd.gov.
Can't spell Charles.
You mean I can't spell Charles? Of course I can spell Charles.
So we start off with a rapid pace right there, getting right into broadband. Let me see if there's a few more questions here. Angela, I see you had a question about agriculture. We're gonna slowly get there too as well. Okay, let's start at the top too as well. BJ Bolin, if you could please let's get some background on you too as well.
Okay.
You started, I believe you started with the Democratic Central Committee, Charles County, in 2014.
Yep, I decided to run in 2014 for the Democratic Central Committee. Was elected. Was immediately elected vice chair of the Democratic Party here in the county, and within a year, not even a year, I was elected the chair of the committee. Served as the chair of the Democratic Central Committee for almost 3 years, and then ran for commissioner. Became a Charles County commissioner. Yep.
That was quick.
Everybody knows who this man is. So, well, what is the Central Committee? Leftwich, question for you. What is the Central Committee?
The Democratic Central Committee is elected by the Democrats in the county, and their job is to get fellow Democrats elected, to work for the party, to help national, state, and local candidates get elected. A lot of the work done by the Central Committee is done after the primary, because you can't take a position during primaries as a Central Committee member, because you got to stay neutral. You build the party, you have events, you go out to functions of other candidates after the primary election, and just basically build the party up. Try to build a network and explain, the platform, and basically work alongside the community and try to promote the principles of the party.
How was you running for politics? How's that been on the family?
Oh man. I was talking with my wife the other night about it, and she's a saint.
A lot of Facebook back and forth. I've seen seen it.
So I will tell you, the best advice I can give for somebody running in politics is, as hard as it is, you have to first ask your family if they're okay with it, and second, it's hard for them, but you can't let the negative vibes. Don't let family get involved in it. Like, as much as they're going to want to go and defend you because they know you and they know that you're doing it for the right reasons, you can't let them encompass it, because it can be challenging, especially when you have kids, because when your kids come home and say, "Daddy, why are they saying this about you? Why are they saying this? I know this isn't true. Why are they saying that?" And I just, honey, you know who I am. You know what Daddy does, and Daddy does the right thing, and kind of leave it at that. But it can be a challenge. Politics doesn't pay the bills. You gotta do it because you love. I like to think there's 3 different types of people in politics. There's ones that are all about themselves, that like that kind of narcissistic, I want to be the man. There's the people that genuinely, I don't know, hate to say it, but need a job, want a paycheck. And then there's the third, which I believe I am. I like to continue that, aura of I just want to do the right thing. I want to give back to my community. I'm retired. I just retired in December from the police department. I run the farm, my family farm. I don't do it for the money. God knows that. I just want to make it so it's better for everybody. And we were talking earlier about how I've seen the county change from when I was growing up to now. And if you don't become part of the solution, you're part of the problem. And if you see something that's going wrong in your community, you step up and do the right thing. And I believe as a good public official or elected official, it's your job to get out in the community and explain your position, and always tell the truth and listen to people. And don't be afraid to change your position if somebody brings something to the table that says makes more sense. Don't be so rigid and stuck in your ways that you can't be willing to change. So.
Hey, that's one of the reasons why we're here. And for everybody out there too as well, please like and share the podcast too. Definitely helps us grow and expand our base. So you mentioned reaching out to the people and seeing what's good as far as interaction. Seeing exactly as far as voters go, what they want, what they don't want. Talk about property taxes.
Okay.
Had a vote that popped up recently that you voted for to increase. What's your thought pattern with that?
So I will tell you, I believe as a government, if you're going to come back to the people for more money, you better have a real good reason.
Okay.
Because people work real hard for their money, and they want to see a reason why you're coming after their money. Personally, I feel that way as well. If I'm paying tax, I want to know where my money's going. So the way that worked is the state comes out and does assessments on your home. They assess the value of your home. The rate of tax is the same. But because if your home value goes up, then the amount that you pay in taxes is going to go up. Because if you're paying 1 point whatever it is on, say, $500,000 one year, but they come out and assess your home the next year at $600,000, of course you're going to pay more because you're paying 1% of $600,000 opposed to 1% of $500,000. So that's where the whole I didn't raise your taxes. It's just the assessed value goes up because that's the truth. That's what happened. So then you have folks that say, well, you should cut our taxes back. Okay, tell me where to cut. Tell me where to cut. Almost over 70% of our budget, before the county government even touches it, goes to the Board of Education and goes to the Sheriff's Department for public safety. Then with the remaining 20-some%, you're talking about your roads, your infrastructure, your EMTs, just planning and growth management, all these other, the amount of debt service you're paying, parks and recreation. I felt this is the first time in a long time we have fully funded the school system. And I was really proud of that. The last 3 years, I've had to go back. After the initial budget's been proposed, I've had to go back and cut other places to bring more money back over to the Board of Ed to try to get some raises for our teachers. But this year, I didn't have to do that. We were able to figure it out. I felt that we were responsible in this budget. We did the right thing, and we got it fully funded. Do I wish we didn't pay as much taxes? Yeah, I do. But there's a lot of people out there demanding a lot of services. They want more parks and recreation. They want more parks. They want more things for their children to do. They're demanding more from the education system. And I want to give it to them because I think bottom line, the best way to improve the quality of life of a community is through education. And if we can educate folks, start them when they're young, some of these children are coming to school with some challenges, and it's not a one-size-fits-all. at the end of the day, there's children that are coming to school with a lot of struggles, especially during the pandemic. So I felt like with this budget, we did a really good job of getting it through. Can we do better? Absolutely. One thing that I think, we need affordable housing. We just had a discussion about affordable housing at the last commissioner meeting. And one of the things I brought up, how much does it cost the county per unit for affordable housing? And what I meant by that was the services that are needed for the people that are coming into these homes. What does that cost the county? And at the end of the day, they're going back now and find out what level of home, or what price per home makes the county money, and what price per home costs the county money for services. So, is it $300,000? A house is worth $300,000. Does that bring in enough property taxes to pay for the services, or does it not? And I think, at the end of the day, people cost money. And one thing I will tell you is that when people talk about we have the highest property tax rate, okay, in Prince George's County, you have 2 tax bills. You have your property tax bill, and you have park and rec bill.
I've heard my parents talk about it for many years.
So if you add those two together, and most jurisdictions a lot of jurisdictions are like that, we are not the highest. Our park and rec, everything is in one in Charles County. In other counties, if you go talk to, I have friends in Prince George's County, that's why people are moving here. Now, people that have lived here their entire lives, it does seem like a lot because a lot of people are demanding a lot more services. I'm not trying to kind of skate around it, but I'm telling you that a lot of people want a lot of services, and then people say, well, we're wasting money. Well, tell me how. Give me an idea, because I'll tell you, and one thing I was big on, especially this time, and I've been all three years I've been in office, is leading up to the budget, I've asked, what do you think? What do you want? Whether it's social media, surveys, what do you want in the budget? Everybody gave me a lot of ideas of where to spend money. Nobody ever said one place to cut it. And that's where I kind of I challenge folks. They're saying that some of the same candidates that are running for office, they're saying, if I'm elected, I'll cut your taxes. Okay, but you're the same candidate saying, if I'm elected, I'll increase the amount of parks and rec you have. Okay, well, you can't do both. Tell me how. If you can give me a way how, I'll be more. And I think we talked about this earlier. I don't care who you are. If you come up with a good idea, I'm going to take it to the table and say, hey, let's run with this. You know what I mean?
So, 2 things with that. I want to back to property taxes, the constant yield. So I know a lot of people say, why wasn't that raised along with it too as well?
So the constant yield would basically make it so we lower the rate to make it so you're paying the exact same amount. So if we had lowered the property tax rate, even though your property, because I guess what I'm trying to say is $500,000 house. I'm just going to use a fictitious number of 1%.
Okay.
So if for a $500,000 house, you're paying 1%, whatever 1% of $500,000 is. If your home now gets assessed at $600,000 at that same 1%, which stays the same, you're going to pay more in taxes. What the changing the constant yield would do is say, no, what you need to do is you need to change that rate from 1% to whatever lower it would be to make it so even though your house is valued at $600,000, you pay the same amount of money. So you'd have something like that.
Or 0.097.
So why didn't we do that? Because where would we cut? I knew how much it was going to be. It was like $8 to $9 million out of the budget. That would have underfunded. Quite frankly, it's 70-some% of the budget, education and public safety. It would have underfunded public safety, and we had to fund body cameras this time around. The blueprint is a lot of demands from blueprint that are not optional. We have to fund, and so those are things that we're preparing for in the next 4 years. That it's not going to be an option. The law says this is the amount you have to fund.
Yeah, blueprint.
And the state level says.
They can do with that.
And one thing that I don't know if people were watching when we had a meeting with the Board of Education was. Most of the money that goes over to the Board of Education is personnel. It pays for salaries and teachers and administrators and all that stuff. Well, the state isn't making up the difference in personnel. So that extra money for the blueprint is going to have to come from the counties. And so we're like, well, where are we going to come up with this money? You know what I mean? It's just like you can't just make money. You know what I mean? So it's not easy. And I'm going to tell you, I work. When budget time comes around, you can ask my wife. I have a big old and I know I might be old school, but I take a big old binder of our budget, and I'm going through line by line by line and saying, where can I find some money? And a lot of times, especially in county government, even county government, if we're going to cut, it's going to be people. I mean, that's most of our money is spent on personnel.
This job sounds super glamorous, by the way. So Mr. Leftwich had a question. So you being a county commissioner, isn't it your job to figure out what to cut as far as...
Absolutely.
Did you have any ideas for that, or was it just property taxes was just the Band-Aid to rely back on?
I mean, ultimately, the only real income we have is from taxes. There's no other way to get income. I mean, you talk about, do we apply for federal grants, state? Yeah, we absolutely do. Like broadband's a great example, but that's still a tax. That's federal or state tax money that's coming back to the county. So yes, we advocate all the time to go get grants from the federal and state government, private sector grants. We absolutely do that, but that's not nearly enough. And one thing that some folks maybe don't understand about a budget is a grant is a one-time. Most of the time it's like a 1 or a 2 time. A lot of times it's maybe 1 or 2 years, and then you have to pick up the tab. Eventually, it has to be in your operating budget. One-time expenses, you can't just pay one-time expenses. If it's a revolving expense, it has to be part of the operating budget. I guess is what I'm getting at. So to answer your question, I've looked through, and when you go into these budget discussions with other county commissioners, where are you going to cut? Are you going to cut, like I said, education? You're going to cut park out? You're going to not, I mean, we're screaming about a Waldorf Park, so we're putting a Waldorf Park up up off of Route 5. It's not easy. And, like I said, a lot of people are wanting a lot of different things. And it's not an easy decision, but we do it. I mean, I'm all about, you got unions involved when you're talking about some of our county employees and raises and the cost of living and all of these things. And you got affordable housing. Ultimately, to make housing affordable, you're going to have to subsidize it. There's no getting around it. The materials aren't going to get cheaper. So when we talk about subsidizing, affordable housing, a lot of it is property tax breaks. You have a developer that wants to come in and you negotiate back and forth how to get rents reasonable. And one of the things we can do as a county government is say, okay, we're going to give you you won't have to pay property taxes, but in turn you're going to have to charge a agreed upon rent so that people can afford to live in these homes. Well, that takes a hit on our budget because property taxes are what feeds our budget. So to make up that gap are the other people that in the county they're paying property. Does that make sense? Whether it's commercial or residential. So to me, the answer to this is encourage commercial and industrial growth in the county. And what I mean by that is businesses coming down here paying the taxes, opposed to all residential.
That leads to Laura's.
Yeah, it leads to Laura's question. It all goes together as far as the podcast. So Laura's question is goes with that. So what are you and the commissioners doing to draw business to Charles County to increase our tax base?
That's a great question. So broadband is one.
Okay.
Because internet access, infrastructure access is one. Water and sewer is another. What we've done at Indian Head as far as making it attractive for businesses to come down here. The stuff we've done and a lot of people are screaming about the airport. What has the airport done for us? Well, if you make it so that airport is economically viable and opportunities present itself around the airport, then businesses will move down here. Transportation's a big issue. We're going out and trying to attract businesses down, saying, hey, we want you here. We're trying to streamline the process back in employment, streamline the process back in planning and growth management. So when a business comes to the county, it's not taking 2 years to get their permits and everything else done. And part of that is strategically sitting down with staff and saying, prioritizing projects like Kaiser Permanente or Amazon, or we've done with the U.S. Bomb Techs down in Indian Head, and saying, okay, you want to come here, and working with private sector partners to say, when you go out and talk to a business, what are the challenges that they're running into when they come to Charles County? Because a lot of what we're hearing is we are the last kind of frontier when it comes to expanding economic growth in the region because everybody else is pretty much built out. So now we're trying to pick and choose. And, I know a lot's come about grocery stores and stuff like that. We can't force a company to come here, but a lot of what I hear, and I'm not trying to digress over to a grocery store, but
so economic development.
Yeah, it is rooftops. They keep saying they need rooftops, and we're like, but rooftops cost money. We need to have, so it's a very fine balance. So to answer your question directly, what are we doing? We're investing in infrastructure. We're investing in making sure that businesses know we're business friendly, and what that means is that we're going to make things happen for you, but we're going to hold you accountable. A lot of talk was about Waldorf Station. That was started with the prior administration. And what we did was we sat down with them and said, okay, if you want this, because the bottom line is residential is where they make their money. That's where they're going to make their money in these big projects. If you want so many residential, units, you have to accomplish this, commercial project first. And then you'll unlock so many residential units. You have to build this amount of roads. You have to provide, this amenity for the community. So it's kind of a balance between, attracting them, but also holding them accountable. You know what I mean? Because the market's changing. People working from home and on the internet. I mean, in my mind, if we can get people off the road and working from home, now they're working in Charles County. They're going to lunch in Charles County. They're not driving on our roads, not creating environmental, challenges, and we can have more opportunities for education. They're home to spend time with their children. So all of this is kind of like it all wraps around together. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So how do we remain business friendly? Actually, no. I want to. Yeah, let's go with that one first because I want to get back to the developers as far as units than commercial projects.
Right. So how do we remain business friendly? We listen to our business community. Listen to what they are, because they're the experts. They're the ones out there in the field, employing folks. What are the challenges? A lot of what they're affordable housing, they're facing that. Like where can my employees work? Access as far as transportation. How fast can we get to DC? When it comes to getting permits for infrastructure to like their buildings and stuff, how friendly are we that? The taxes, how the taxes going to affect them. It's kind of like it all ties in together, and it's just having an open mind, not saying we're shut down. No more building. Well, no, we have to be smart, and we have to make sure we're holding people accountable.
A lot of people don't like the constant building that's going on in Charles County. What do you say to that?
How'd you move here?
This house is
That's
this house
what
been around since the 70s.
Well, no, I'm not saying you in particular. I'm saying in general. I think some of the folks that are screaming about that, my family's been here a long time. We've seen go from pulling plows and mules to now with internet in every home. I'm not saying that in a sarcastic way. I'm saying there has to be accountability. There has to be accountability. If a developer is going to move in and want to build homes, you have to bring amenities with it. You have to be responsible for the environmental impact it's going to have. You got to bring more to the table than just the homes. And you can't just split. You can't just come build a cruddy home and then just roll out and make your money. You have to build a quality home that people can count on, that they can live in for 30, 40, 50 years, and that you're going to bring more than just a home to the table. And I think that having honest conversations with the public, having honest conversations with developers is how it's happening. It's how it needs to happen.
And you mentioned, too, as well, that they build a certain amount of units. They have to work on a commercial project for Charles County. What areas has that been done?
So it used to be called developer rights and responsibilities. What's that?
I got you.
Yeah, we're good. Go on, please.
No, so one of the things that the county still does, but it's by a different name, is called developers' rights and responsibilities, which means if you're going to build a home, there's a certain amount of fees you have to pay for schools, for roads, and as such, and infrastructure. I can just use the Waldorf Station project as an example. Recently, like I said, when they came in, they wanted to put that multi-use. It had commercial and residential development as part of both of them. We said this is what we want. This is you have to accomplish this before these residential units will be unlocked. I think at the end of the day, it's holding developers accountable. And a lot of the challenges we're running into right now are because some of them weren't held accountable. And now,
such as who?
Well, I would just say,
hey, where we're at. We love names here.
I would say that legally, for legal reasons, I'll just say that we are finding that sometimes things weren't done correctly, and we're trying to rectify that. And we would not be doing justice to the community to say that that's not happening. It has happened, and we're trying to fix it. But the challenges we face can't be solved in just 2, 3, 4 years. It's moving forward. We're trying to we're doing the right thing.
You hear that? 4 more terms of bowling.
Oh my Lord! I don't know if my wife wants that.
So I'm gonna get to some of Leftwood's questions. I see everybody asked about the airport too as well. We'll get to that next. So basically, what is a little more clarity. How do you plan on holding them accountable? You mentioned things have happened in the past that weren't right as far as community goes.
So
what is your plan now going forward?
Well, we've had plans in place, and we're just moving them forward now, and we have been for probably the last 10 years. Inspections. I mean, it's the small things. Stormwater management, rec centers. I'll just say rec centers.
Developers building rec centers?
Well, part of their responsibilities, holding them to the responsibilities of what they sign when they agree to build a neighborhood.
Really?
Yeah.
Where's that?
I'll just say that there's a lot of challenges we face in the county when it comes to some legal stuff. And we are doing our very best to make sure that when a developer moves in here, we hold them accountable. And like I said, I hate to keep referring back to Waldorf Station, but that is probably the single largest, and really the only major residential project we have outside of some of the senior housing that we've had in our administration has been that. And I, for one, was pleased with the way Commissioner Stewart, because she was in her district, and she was kind of the spearhead of that because she was in the previous administration, and how we were able to have a lot of accountability for that developer.
So I'm curious. So they're supposed to.
I see things popping up in the screen. I'm like, you have to understand I'm responsible to the citizens as far as how do I put this? Specifics I can't talk about, but I'm well aware of some of the things that are popping up on your screen, and they are being discussed within the Board of County Commissioners. I think some of the people that are bringing them up are well aware of talking about. So
developers are not going anywhere. We're still we're still building in Charles County.
Of course, I mean, you're never going to stop growth. It's going to happen, but you got to do it smart. You got to hold people accountable, and you got to make sure it's done where the most infrastructure is, and you're not overextending county resources, and at the end of the day, costing the county more money. Because at the end of the day, that it does. And you talk about water and sewer. That's a big cost. And maintaining that there's water and sewer lines. That's a big cost to the end users. So the ones that are using are the ones that are paying for it.
And you said legally you can't talk about it, as far as
legality. Just the fact of this. It's in legal. It's in negotiations with county attorney and such.
Okay, so I see Leftwich comment there too as well. AJ, I'm gonna turn over you to read some more some questions. There's one other question I had there too as well. Okay, there it is. Yeah, how were some of these developers slipped through and not held their end of the bargain? What's been the issue with that?
As far as I would say,
have they broken their terms of the contract or agreement?
I'm gonna try to be really kind of vague and overall on this. Some not very responsible commissioners.
And with you now, or
no, previous?
Okay,
that's what I'll say.
Such as who?
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
You go pry all night, ain't you?
We here. Go ahead, AJ.
Yeah. So
we'll get to some of these comments.
Miss Jane Williams said.
Go back a little bit more too.
I got you.
Yeah.
So going back to the blueprint, I thought the blueprint was being funded by grant money to fund it.
Where would that? I'm not trying to be funny, but where would the grant money come from? So at the end of the day, there's some grant money coming from the state, but that's not funding nearly enough to pay for the entire bill. And grant money usually what happens with the grant is it'll pay for 2 or 3 years, and the county's responsibility to pick it up after that. And so it has to be incorporated in our general operating budget.
Keep going.
You want to go back to the airport, or you want to wait?
Keep cleaning this up, and then we'll transition smooth to the airport.
Okay, cool.
Review some notes while I'm over here.
So one of the questions was going back to like business mandates. It says, Miss Angela, why did you vote for the mask mandate and business closures when you didn't have the authority?
There was a pending lawsuit on that, so I'm not sure if that's something I really want to touch right now.
Copy. Let's see.
I ain't trying to get involved in anything legal either. So.
I think we touched on this. What about supporting elevating the current businesses around the airport to prepare for the increased clientele?
That's part of the zoning that's we've been working on, and making sure that the zoning around the airport is complementary to what will be needed around the airport. At the end of the day, and I said this when we first got in office, I believe that the airport around the airport need to be zoned properly as far as for commercial and industrial use. Once we zone it correctly, it's up to the free market for it to happen. And part of that is just creating a positive business environment, making sure that they know and start with the zoning aspect of it.
I want to get back to the airport in a second. Read Angela's comment.
Which one?
The spicy one.
Spicy one.
As far as the lawsuit, she says there's no pending lawsuit. Now, I'm not entirely sure if there is one or not.
I didn't see that.
Which one is this about?
As far as, I believe, Angel, we're talking about the mask mandate. As far as that.
So repeat the question again.
The first one?
The first one you asked with Angela, yeah.
So the first one that she asked was, why did you vote for the mask mandate and business closures when you knew you didn't have the authority? And then
I will say that we actually did have the authority. But there was an actual gentleman that's running for governor by the name of Dan Cox that was representing a group in Charles County that actually was suing the county for the mask mandate. So I'm kind of trying to be careful how I answer this, but we absolutely have the authority. And at the end of the day, if you're asking why I voted for the mask mandate, it was because we were in a community health crisis. We had people dying from a disease. We didn't know what it was. And I did what I thought was best for the community. And when people had unfiltered access to the vaccine, that's when I voted to lift it. Mandate.
So we're at this point. First of all,
I was gonna say, real quick, I don't think all the comments are popping up on my phone.
all right. Well,
I'm gonna look from here.
yeah, we just go from here. Allie, happy birthday too as well. So the mask mandate. So obviously that was a different time in Charles County. People have mentioned, obviously, we're talking about reopen too as well, that it was unconstitutional for you to institute a mask mandate. So thoughts on that?
That's their opinion. I'm trying to protect 170,000 people. And as a reasonable person, we had people dying. Our hospitals were overcrowded. Kids weren't in school because of this. We didn't know what this disease was, how to protect anybody from it. And I said from the beginning, until we get this vaccine available for everybody, and I'm a first responder. I was in the thick of it. You know, I was one of the first ones to get the vaccine, stood in line, got it. But not everybody had access to it. And I felt it was the right thing to do. And I can sleep comfortably at night knowing I did what I felt was right for the community. I'm very much a believer in the Constitution and freedom, but at the end of the day, I used rational, reasonable thought in that process. And some people just aren't going to agree with me on the decision I made. And I'm okay with that. And at the end of the day, when we had the vaccine available for everyone, when everybody had access to it, I felt it was time to lift. I voted as such.
I remember that night.
And you know what? I took a lot of heat. I mean, the reality is I'm running against a doctor. I did what I felt was right, and I thought was right for the county when I did it. I listened to the community when 1,500 people came out and said, you know, the vaccine's been available for everybody. There's no lines for it. You don't have to wait. You can get it. And I voted accordingly. Now, it doesn't mean you can't go wear a mask. You can absolutely wear a mask anywhere you want. You can wear a gas mask if you want and walk into Safeway. I just said you didn't have to. But when the time, in the beginning of it, people were scared. There's people dying. I have friends in the nursing field that the hospitals were overcrowded. Our hospitals were overrun. Like I said, I can sleep at night knowing I did what I thought was best for the community.
And then another one real quick. Are you trying to stay on this?
No, go on.
All right. Derek Terry asked, what's up with the animal shelter? Not for sure which one or what's going on, but.
So, I mean, that is a capital project. You know, you have a lot of budgetary things coming up, and it's in the budget. It's just it's taking a little time to get in. I mean, it's something we're going to have to readdress. I mean, there's a lot of concerns about where it was located as far as the fireworks at the stadium, but it's definitely something that's on the table for us to finish and get done.
You clean up some of these questions before we make
Yeah.
a turn.
Let's see here.
Man, you got a lot of questions. I'm getting everything.
So the blueprint
fire.
won't be implemented after the grants run out, even if it's successful.
No, it absolutely will be.
Okay.
It has to be paid for no matter what. It's not an option. We have to pay for it.
Okay.
Do you want to go through Jane's?
Yeah,
so
go ahead.
he could read it up there because it's long.
I'm gonna read it out loud too as
Okay.
well for audio purposes. So Jane Williams, what's going on? How you doing today? I thought the blueprint was being funded by grant money to fund it. Grant initiative designed to support. Well, let's stop right there. I thought the blueprint was being funded by grant money.
Well,
not all of it is.
Yeah,
it's some of it. It's some of it, but
wanna
not
clear it
all of
up
it.
for her.
It's like a short-term solution, but it's not the long-term solution.
Okay.
And it's not for all of it. Like I said, some of it is straight from the county.
Grant initiative designed to support Maryland school districts overcome learning loss and narrow opportunity achievement
Absolutely.
gaps. Provided targeted. This is we can. Yeah, this is everything that is as far as it's highlighted.
And I'll tell you something. I believe in the blueprint. I'm not gonna. I mean, I think that's a really good plan. At the end of the day, I think parental involvement coupled with this blueprint is going to make. I mean, at the end of the day, if we can get with our kids when they're really young and get them a good education, get them opportunity. And one of my initiatives has been, this food stuff with my background in agriculture. Some kids are coming to school, haven't eaten a meal. So there's just so many aspects to this blueprint that are going to be positive for the students. But also, it's not just the blueprint. It's, parental involvement. My wife works in the school system. She works in the Title I and sees a lot of the stuff that the challenges we're facing. We have an increased population of students that need more. This COVID situation has brought out mental health issues we have never seen, or maybe it's always been there. It hasn't been brought to light.
Right.
And so there are so many mental health professionals. And that goes back to the taxes thing. There are so many needs in the community. What do you cut? Where do you cut? And it's a hard decision, and I feel comfortable with the budget we pushed forward, that we did a really good job this year. And we're really good stewards of the county's taxpayer dollars. And I will always be that. So.
Read some of these comments here.
Yeah.
I want to go back to the airport. So there's been issues as far as lead with the airport too as well. Do you want to talk on that?
Yeah, I've heard that. And I know that when I talked to the Maryland Department of the Environment, because I brought it to their attention, that anything that's done at that airport will have to meet air quality standards from the Maryland Department of the Environment and the EPA. One thing that has been kind of tossed out there that really isn't true is that we're expanding the airport. No, we're not expanding the airport. Congressman Hoyer got funding to expand the airport years ago. There's only a certain size airplane that's going to be fit there. We're not talking about 757s or however big those big airplanes. We're talking about jets and stuff like that. It's an opportunity. If you look at airports around the region, around the state, around the country, airports like this generally are a good economic driver. Can start the flow of businesses moving down here. I think it's going to open up some opportunities. I'm not saying it's to get all to solve all, but that coupled with we just designated Indian Head Highway, the technology corridor going down towards Indian Head. I mean, we had
Velocity.
With the Velocity Center, the U.S. bomb techs are coming out there. But there's challenges we will always face. It's just trying to open opportunities. The Velocity Center is open up education opportunities for folks over in Indian Head. They can come in and take summer camps. I mean, there's unlimited potential, but you have to have an open mind.
Now, as far as the airport too, as well, it's just small aircraft and flying there. So how would that, as far as economic development, how does that
I would
go
say
hand in hand?
the mode of transportation, people flying in. We're the closest airport to DC that's in the zone where you can fly.
Yeah,
I'm trying to think of it. I can't remember the name exact of it. You guys are Air Force, aren't you? So
yeah, but
no, we are not all Air Force.
Former, but as far as these people, where do you think they're going to? I mean, they're not staying in Charles County.
Some of them are.
Foster's.
Some of them eating at
Shout out to
Foster's.
Foster's. Scott, love you.
I was going to give out shout out to maybe Ruchi's or something like that, but
yeah.
No, I think it anybody. It could be people in Charles County. It could be people coming to go into DC. It could be a business that's flying. It's located close to there. They can ship out their materials out of there. I don't claim to know all the answers. Now, a good person to have on here to talk about that would be our economic development director, because she can give you a very detailed answer to that question.
Can you help us set that up?
Absolutely.
You lock that in.
There it is.
Yeah.
They might want to move you guys over to our podcast central, where you can do it from our office. I don't know if that's.
Hey! I play. We get road games.
We'll talk about that. After
yeah, we'll do road games. No problem.
No, but
problem at all.
honestly, you ask these. If I know the answer, I'll tell you. If I don't, I'll get somebody to answer the question for you.
Yeah, it's just that I'm curious at who. Like, obviously, you're flying in. You got to have some money on you, and then you're coming into Charles County, this airport, to do exactly.
So
I think
you're
spend the money here.
I think you would think that there's two types of businesses two types of people that would fly in. One that are going to do business in Washington, D.C. in the metro area. They're just going to fly into this airport because it's just easier. The second would be some type of good or services that would go in, a business that would go around the airport. I think they had a company before some of the stuff went on with previous administrations that was going to move in and work on propulsion, like the ejection seats on jets. Because if you don't know, down in Indian Head, that's what they do, propulsion and bombs and stuff like that. So those are the type of things that would meld well with the Indian Head base. You see some good stuff on there, makes you shaking your head.
Yeah, Leftwich said they'd probably even go to the dollar store.
I don't know, man.
And the thing is that I would love if, people flew in here and, spent the money in Charles County, then flew out to as well. It's all business here. Yeah. I'm just curious how feasible that is. I mean, it looks like they're flying here going to the MGM or Maryland Live.
It could very well be. And I think that's a good question. And like I said, I can get our economic development staff in here to answer some of those specific questions. Honestly, setting up the zoning around the airport is just let capitalism and let the free market take its.
Jesus Christ!
Holy. Sorry,
Angela, I've never seen a comment that's
a long comment.
Before. We're gonna have to sum it up. AJ, hop on that one, please.
I got you.
Yeah, BJ, please keep going though.
No, so I guess what I'm saying is honest conversation. We were talking about this earlier. If somebody has an idea that I can bring to the table, but I think getting Kelly Schlegel in here, who's our economic development director, would be a great idea. Talk about that.
Okay. Well, yeah, we'll keep that in mind too as well. Derek Terry Airport would be a regional hub, and high rollers could just fly their private jets.
So I have to fly into my farm. No, I'm kidding.
Gosh.
You know,
There it is.
I'm kidding.
Bowling Farm's economic development plan.
I'm just an old poor farmer. I'm just kidding, man. I'm trying to keep the mood light.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep going full circle. But we'll keep with the comments for now.
I'm looking at one from Miss Williams.
Please.
It says, "Who sets the county budget, the commissioners or the county administrator?" So, what happens in the budget process is, throughout the year, if commissioners have projects, they can propose staff to work on them. Like if you have a project, say a park and rec project, you get a consensus from the board of commissioners. The staff can work on the project, and then it can be moved forward by the particular director. The directors submit their proposed budget from each department to the county administrator. The county administrator puts together the budget of what he believes is the vision of the county commissioners. The budget comes before the county commissioners, the board of commissioners, for public hearing, work sessions. We look at what the county administrator has funded in the budget, and we look at there's also things that were in the budget but just not funded. And we have the ability as commissioners to go in there and say, okay, we want project A, you have this funded, county administrator, but we want project C, and we can switch it out. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Why is he laughing, man? He's got something good.
Leftwich said, "Damn, that post just drained my battery." It was just to kind of sum it up. It was talking about the mask mandate again.
And listen, and I'll say this about the mask. I don't think anybody wants anybody to get sick or die. I think everybody wants a safe community.
She said it's for the informal purposes for
absolutely. And listen,
yeah.
And one thing. And
Thank you, Angela.
When you were asking about the Democratic Party, I'm a Democrat. I was the chair of the party. Doesn't mean I don't listen to Republicans. When I'm elected, I work for everyone. After the general election, I work for everyone. Whether you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, Black, White, Asian, doesn't matter. Native American, I work for everybody. So I'm going to listen to you. I'm going to listen to what you have to say. I'm going to process it in my brain. I'm going to listen to the community, and I'm going to come out with policy decisions that I believe reflect what the community wants. And there's going to be people that agree with things and people that don't. But I believe if you come from a good place and from your heart and do the right thing, that people are going to reelect you. That's how I feel. Fair enough.
Yeah, the whole. I mean, we're pretty much past that point as far as the mass everything. That actually that wasn't that long ago. That was earlier. That was early in the year. But it's been. I mean, it's so many. That could be a whole podcast in itself. We could sit here and talk on that too as well. Obviously, you voted, for the mask.
Uh-huh.
A lot of people were happy. We're happy about that. And then you voted to lift it, and then people were happy
and unhappy,
happy with that too as well. So that's a conversation that we can spend the next hour on. But for podcast purposes, I want to talk to you about this watershed conservation district.
Absolutely.
Yeah, WCD.
Watershed.
Yeah, I got the R when I texted it to you.
And Southern Maryland turned watershed.
What we got for that? What do you have for that? Thoughts on it?
So when we got into that was a really contentious issue during the last election. I told you my family are farmers. My family have degrees in the environment and agronomy, so I understand what the watershed conservation district meant. I said during the last election, I'll say it again, I didn't believe overturning it completely was the right thing to do. I think it needed to be tweaked. I think there needed to be opportunities for folks that lost property values to be able to get access to programs to compensate them for their loss in value, and we did that. The Nanjamoy Rural Legacy Area, which basically says you can come in and preserve your land. You keep it, but you preserve it permanently. We had the program on the eastern side of the county. We got it in the western side. We have two now in the county, which is unheard of in the state. But it's a state program. We got it. So now landowners over there, because the folks want that land to be conserved, now they have an opportunity to go ahead and get compensated for what they had lost as far as property values. As far as the environmental concerns, I get it. When you have more forest land and not impervious surface or less impervious surface, it absorbs the water nutrients, and it doesn't go into our waterways, which affects our fish and our oysters and all that. So understanding it is the first thing. I do understand it. Second thing is making reasonable and rational decisions that both protect the environment, but also you asked about taxes and the base for industrial and commercial growth. Well, you have to have a balance. You can't just shut everything down, because some of those folks in the western side of the county, I will say a lot of them, it's desolate over there sometimes, and we've been working really hard to get things jump started over in Indian Head and now in Bryan's Road. And that doesn't mean just listening to one group of people. It means listening to everybody. I think people want a quality of life and a good environment, and we can do both. And I think if you listen to everybody and don't shut people out, we can have that. So that's kind of where I've stood on it.
Do you think your position has flipped on that? I've heard that you ran on one thing and then you got elected as something else.
No, I told, when I ran, I said, listen, I don't believe in overturning the Watershed Conservation District. I believe we need to tweak it. We need to fix the zoning around I was very specific. I said we need to fix the zoning around the airport, because I knew this would come up. We need to fix. I know it because when you promise stuff, you better follow through with it. So I said I want to fix the zoning around the airport, which I believe we're doing. And the second part is I wanted to bring conservation programs over to the western side of the county so that the landowners can be compensated. It's not fair to take away land values and not. And historically, in the western side of the county, we have a lot of African American and minority owned parcels of land. And it wasn't fair that these opportunities were available on the eastern side of the county, but they weren't on the western side. So those are the 2 points that I had that I wanted to fix the WC, and we've stuck to that, and that's what we've done. Now, other commissioners have different ideas. That's them.
Such as?
Yeah, there comes with the
I used to
names
try.
again.
Sometimes I just need to keep my mouth shut, don't I?
We'll talk off the record. Derek, who exactly you talking to? Just out of curiosity there. I don't know if you responded back to or just a comment you want me to read. So I want to go to some. So you mentioned promises made and kept. So I'm looking at your I guess your flyer or your highlights for the past year.
Did that come out today?
No. This is on your page. I've had this one for a while.
Oh, that one's getting ready to come out. Sorry.
Yeah,
it's getting ready to come out as a flyer.
Oh, it's another one coming out. Okay.
A little teaser. 3 more. Just trying to knock it home, man. That's all.
Increased the oyster restoration local waterway.
Yeah, that was an awesome project, man.
Talking about that.
So, the environment is important to me. I can't grow corn in concrete. I can't raise cattle on concrete. I can't eat oysters out of a nasty waterway. I can't eat fish out of a nasty waterway. So, not only with land preservation, but I figure we need to clean some of our waterways up. And I had this idea. It started off with we have what's called fund balance. Prepare a budget, and at the end of the year, at the end of the fiscal year, if a particular director or division has not spent all of their money, it goes into a thing called fund balance, which means it's leftover money, but it can only be a one-time expense. So it can't be used towards a revolving salary or something like that, but you can use it for a one-time expense.
Real quick, can I ask you a question? Not to cut you off from what you're saying. So does the balance have to be spent by is it fiscal year?
Yes.
Okay.
And if there's money not spent, then it goes into a fund balance, which is money. It's like
is that what you call it? The fund balance?
It's called fund balance.
Like FUN.
No, FUND.
FUND.
Okay, just make
not
curious.
fun.
Come on,
not fun.
Is it fun? Because I got some ideas.
So that fund balance, there's a certain amount that has to be kept in fund balance is like a cushion in case we hit really bad times in the county, that we can have that. It's like a savings account for the county. And so if we have times where we can fill a gap. So I said, I really want to work on a project with our local watermen. So we moved some money from fund balance over and partner with our local oyster association, and they planted a bunch of oysters in the Wacomico River. We wanted to find a more sustainable, revolving way to fund this program. We were able to work with the state and find a sustainable program that's funded through the federal and state government to continuously plant, I think it's $100,000 a year worth of oysters into the Wacomico and Potomac rivers. And one challenge we have, I don't know if anybody knew this, but the Wacomico River used to be one of the largest estuaries for oysters in the state. But some of the practices of, let's say, previous administrations
there we go.
For many, many moons has made it because an oyster will take water and filter it and clean it and spit it back out.
Correct.
So the more oysters you have in the water, the cleaner your water is. So we now are taking, that's one of the pillars of cleaning, a better environment. Naturally, how do we do it? Another way is, you talk about the Watershed Conservation District, streamline buffers, where you have buffers between a stream and any type of disturbance of water and stuff like that. It's all these little things, less people on the roads, environmental things like, if we have internet service where people aren't driving on the road, carbon emissions aren't on the road, so they're at home. It's less, pollutant from the water, and it's a lot. So it's been good.
We'll talk about these roads here in a second too as well. Leftwich. Nah, I blinked twice and we transition. That's how that usually works.
Okay.
Yeah. As far as
Squirrel.
little podcast information. Transportation, Charles County. What's the future of that? I know we got Van Gogh. Are we planning on building on top of that?
So right now we got
expanding it. What do we have?
We received a grant from the federal government to have free Van Gogh, which has, a lot of the transportation for our underserved areas, our elderly, is done through Van Gogh. And people are going to say, "Oh, I can't believe you made it free. It's our tax." People need to get to the grocery store. People need to get to the senior centers. And I think if we can provide this opportunity, it's really worth it. I think we owe some debt of service to some of our we're judged by the less fortunate in our community. If we can do something like that for some of the people that don't have modes of transportation, we're making it a better community. And I can sleep all night on that one. So
yeah, and that's, of course, some people, they're going to love to, they don't mind paying a little bit more for things of that sort, but others, if I'm paying, especially we mentioned property taxes, I expect a lot more from Charles County to put out too as well.
Mm-hmm.
People have spent money on stupider things, so.
No,
yeah, but it's just,
and listening to,
we got a city commissioner here. So.
Right.
and honestly, I try to listen to the community. They want more. People want more parks. They want more opportunities for young people. And one thing about, they cost money. People cost money. They're wanting more thing, and it costs money to do these things. And one thing about our community is trying to get away from so dependent on traveling to D.C. for work or outside the county. These parents are getting up in the morning and going into work and not getting home till late at night. So it's not like everybody's growing up on a farm anymore where they can go out and feed 20 cows and do chores. Some of these kids are coming home and there's nothing for them to do. So we're trying to find ways that are responsible spending for government, but can also provide opportunity. And we've had a big meeting about youth with the Board of Education, our Parks and Rec. And
here we go.
What?
No, I'm ready for this one. I was going to lead you down here, but yeah, please continue.
So, so we had a big meeting about this, I guess 2 weeks ago, with our partners with the Board of Education, the college, and just trying to come up with a plan. What can we do? And thinking outside the box. Not everybody plays sports. Some people get into the gaming, but just an opportunity for our kids to have something to do. In the summertime, transportation's an issue. So talking about how we can provide transportation to these children. If a kid wants to learn, if a kid wants to do something, let's provide that opportunity, because it's either that or the sheriff's department is dealing with some of these young people, and I don't want that. I want to provide opportunities. And Dr. Navarro was very open to conversations about different things in the schools. And listen, this is going to sound crazy, and I know I'm probably going to jump a whole bunch of comments on this, but
here we go.
I think the option for year-round school is a good thing. The option for it, because some children they lose out in that summertime. They need school. School is their structure, and for others it might not be a good. For others they don't need it, but some children, the ones that most need it, those are the ones we're worried about. And I hope you can see that. I know they're not sitting here with me, but I'm sincere about that. Some of our children that are struggling, school is a really positive influence for them, and if there's a way to go down that route, maybe it's through backfilling with Parks and Rec in the summertime, making programs optional for kids to, if they want to be picked up at the bus and go into school and learn about arts and, arts or technology or stuff like that. It's just, at the end of the day, it's a partnership between the schools, the government, and the parents. And I think the parents are the biggest arm of that, making sure that they are, having a positive influence on their kids. And when they're not, listen, at the end of the day, if there's a challenge with the parents at home, society can either deal with them at an education level and services like Parks and Recs, or with the Sheriff's Department. Which one do you want? I would prefer Parks and Rec and education.
Parks and Rec's got to offer more.
Well, in part, I'll challenge that with some folks. We have a lot. People don't take advantage of it. Now it'll go back to they can't afford it. Okay, we have Rec Pass. That costs money. Yes, we're to cut taxes. Okay, those are things we're trying to provide for students that can't afford it. And people talk about cutting taxes. Are those the things you want to cut? We have a lot of, tell me. This is the questions I'm asking people to say, oh, just cut tax. Okay, where? Do I cut sheriff deputies out? Do I cut raises from teachers? Oh, you're always going, no, because that's the reality of what we're dealing with. Do I cut back kids with rec passes? I mean, it's not an easy thing. And that's why I keep getting back to parental involvement. A lot of this, you figure almost half of our budget revolves around children in the education system.
50%.
Right at around 49, I believe it's 49, 50%, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Don't quote me. Something like that.
Hey, you're the guy to quote.
It's somewhere around there. I should have brought that little book, that little cheat sheet that has all the numbers in it.
Usually everybody brings like a little binder or something.
I'm freestyling. I don't have anything. Just my cell phone. It's in my pocket, blowing up. Obviously,
Leftwich said today's price is not tomorrow's price.
Hey, like Jamila said, best style of conversation, just going with it. So I want to, some of these, I believe Julie and Leftwich are responding to, as far as we don't have enough programs from Parks and Rec to offer the kids.
I see when I like to ask a question. I mean, I don't necessarily want to cut taxes, but we have to have property taxes fund more than 50% of our county. What does that mean? Can't have property tax. That's the only source of revenue the county can have is property taxes.
Not tax revenue, businesses?
Well, businesses, yeah. Actually, I'm glad you said that. We found over the last 4 years, our reliance on personal property taxes has been decreasing, and our amount of business and industrial tax has been increasing. Now, we could have it going faster than the opposite way, but it is going in the right direction. It's going in the direction of less on personal, like home taxes, and actually more on the business climate type taxes, the businesses and industrial.
So I'm looking at Julie's comment too as well, and I want to get to the power plant shutting down here. AJ, remind me of that one too as well as we come back to that one, because that's a tax base that we're losing. But Julie's comment here, and tell me this: there's plenty of empty buildings on the west side of the county that could be made into a rec center. Actually, all kinds of empty buildings, and this also, I believe, goes back to Leftwich. And as far as what Julie's saying earlier, that there's not enough, parks and recs for the kids to do. Now, to Julie's comment directly, these empty buildings can be turned into rec centers. Thoughts on that?
I'm not opposed to it. I think there's some challenges we face with that as far as getting them up to code. Private business arrangements cost money to actually run those facilities, a budgetary item. I mean, if there's a specific idea, I encourage some of the residents to come over, especially in District 2 with Commissioner Coast District, to come over and bring those up. And I'll tell you, different districts have different things going on. I know that's been a big thing over in the western side of the county. I'm not opposed to it. I'll entertain the conversation and see. I mean, this is where staff has to come in and say what are the pros and cons of doing it. What are the things we can do, can't do? Because actually, I think I'll be honest with you. I know when I first came in, I'm thinking we got so many vacant buildings. Why can't we use it for like think outside the box with schools?
Mm-hmm.
But then I found out there's certain restrictions from the state level on school construction, that there has to be certain things met, and private sector buildings don't. I mean, that goes into our private-public partnership that we pushed through Annapolis and got through Annapolis, where, we're trying to get a way to get ahead of schools and not wait, because with the state, the funding works for the state for our schools, we have to be overcrowded before they build us a new school. I think that's insane.
Yeah,
I think we should. That is insanity. And I mean, I think we should plan to build schools as we're building a community. I mean, we're talking about, like in my district, in Heritage Green and La Plata, hey, we got these kids moving in. Let's build the school while we're building but that's not how the state works. So now
can these developers build these schools for us?
That is part of the plan. That is part of what's already in place, where they pay an impact fee. So the answer is yes. But when it comes to, most schools are funded 50% by the county, 50%. It's around 50-50 by the county and the state. Mm-hmm. So in order to get schools built before these developments are in there, the county's going to have to forward fund. We're going to have to pay for it all up front, and just on a wing and a prayer, pray that the state will reimburse. And that's what this private-public partnership was about, to try to get into that mindset, because that is insanity. When I found that out and got in, like, you're telling me we've got to be crowded before they'll give us more schools? Mm-hmm. And yeah, that's what the state says. It's insanity.
I'm gonna scroll right back up to Angela's
I was
comment.
gonna say a lot of these comments are going crazy now.
Yeah, I'm gonna scroll all the way back up.
That's a good thing, man.
Hey, bring it in. It's for the community. Nope, not that far. Hold a second. All right, here it is. What's the plans for Marshall Hall Park area? What are the plans for Bryansford in general?
There used to be a park over there. There used to be a real big amusement park over in Marshall Hall. I'm open for anything, honestly. I'm open for a discussion about anything to do over there. You asking my personal plans? I mean, we could put a park over there. I'm I'm good with it. I mean, I'm open to suggestions. I know Commissioner Coates has been working hard over there. And one thing about the districts when it comes, we run countywide, but we try to, when it comes to matters in the districts, we kind of defer to those district commissioners. And like when I have my town halls. I mean, I try to have them all over the county, but when it comes to like, I know my district. I know I'm pretty solid in knowing what, things that people want. You were talking about the power plant. I know Commissioner Coates has been working about a community center over there in Bryan's Road, the sub-area plan in Bryan's Road. She's been working heavily on. But I'm open for discussion. I mean, I don't have necessarily any plans for Marshall Hall.
So just to clean this up, even though the whole county votes to elect you, most of the commissioners you just kind of defer to your own areas as the expertise.
Out of respect for the commissioners that represent that district, we tend to say, okay, what do the people in your district want? Like this Newburgh sub-area plan. I know what the people down there want. They don't want more houses. They don't want a whole lot of houses. They want farmland. That farm they want it that area they want preserved, and they want to keep it in a rural type setting. Now, do they always have to listen to me? No, but I'm very comfortable. When I do outreach, I always, before I make a policy decision, I do some outreach and see what the people want. I mean, there's different neighborhoods in my community there's projects coming up, and La Plata is another example. We have very limited authority in the town of La Plata. We're going through some annexation things with the town of La Plata. We can't stop them. They can annex, just keep annexing. There's nothing we can. That's why you elected a mayor and a town council. So when people are, upset about some of the things that's going on in the town, it's not the commissioners, it's the town council and the mayor. You keep chuckling, man. I'm like, what is these comments coming?
Go ahead, read some of these comments too as well. I'm gonna get back to a little bit of La Plata and then talk Wardorf.
So
as well.
Leftwich said, why does everyone vote for commissioners, not only your area? Your area.
I'm glad you asked that question. So during the last 4 years, there was some legislation that came up that made it so the school board only runs by district. So I said, well, why don't we do that with commissioners? And I thought there was a little bit of hypocrisy going on because certain elected officials.
Who?
Oh, it's public record. I was 4-1. I was the only one that supported this bill. They said, well, we should elect commissioners by district.
There we go. Now we got some tangible. Keep talking.
So I said, well, if we're going to do it for the school board, then why don't we do it for the commissioners? Oh, well, that's not fair. What do you mean it's not fair? You did it for the school board. Oh, we didn't do it. The state legislature did it. Yeah, but we sent a letter of support for that, didn't we? So why don't we do it for the board of commissioners?
I'm all for it.
Oh, I'm 100%. I was the lone soldier on that one. So I'm all for it. I think you should be represented. It makes it so more people can run for office. It's not as expensive. And the people in that district are electing their elected candidate. And to fall back on, well, I did win my district. Every commissioner that's in there right now won their district, but that doesn't matter. If you look at any major jurisdiction, whether it's Montgomery County, Prince George's County, they elect council people by district, and I think that's the way it should be. And I'll bring it back up again this year, but we'll see how that goes.
I'm rooting for that one. So, would you be for Waldorf becoming a town too as well, municipality?
I have no problem with that. The people want it. It's all for the people. It's like what I said with the town of La Plata. For the most part, unless it's something very egregious, the people elect the mayor and the town council, and that's who they elect to make their policy decisions. So, and when it comes to Waldorf, there's no reason why we wouldn't. I mean, honestly, why would I be opposed to it? I can't think of any reasonable person that would be opposed to the incorporation of an area. Because honestly, and for the people that live now understand, if you incorporate yourself, you're going to pay more taxes. Because you're not only going to pay county taxes, you're going to pay town taxes. That's what they do on the plate in Indian Head. But I'm fine with it. I have no problem with that. I am up until recently when the redistricting came, and it's not even really considered Waldorf, I'm the only commissioner who doesn't have a part of Waldorf in their district. The only commissioner. And I have the biggest district. They just made my district. They took me out to Malcolm. I'm way out there now, man. I got my district is I think you could fit 2 other districts inside mine. It's a lot of work, man. I'm telling you. So if I had to pound the pavement, that's a lot of pounding in the pavement.
Hey, you think that's why vote was 4-1?
People are scared of change.
Explain. What do you mean?
I think
you've been here for a while.
I think people are afraid of change, but I'm not. I take my experience in other communities and other areas and say, think it's a good thing. I don't want to speak for other commissioners. I can't say why they voted the way they did, but I know I was pretty, and people in my district want it. Bad. I mean, really bad. I mean, I'll be honest with you, and this is going to go into another realm, but our delegation, our entire delegation lives in the western side of the county. Not one delegate or senator lives over in my district. Is that really fair?
Oh, absolutely not.
So why, when you have jurisdictions, Calvert, Prince George's, St. Mary's have single-member districts, why does our, including 27, which comes into Waldorf, has single-member districts? Why aren't our delegates single-member districts? I was very upset when that didn't happen. I think that everybody should have equal access to run for office, and that is, I mean, they do, but in a sense, it's, if you have somebody that's all in the western side of the county, how are people in, where I live feel like they're represented in Charles County? Oh, I'm bringing some hot topics up because I know there's going to be some delegates going to be hot on me.
Yeah,
You heard it live here on BNY Network, by the way.
Jamila said, "What was the rationale for why commissioners aren't elected as well?" I think you kind of touched on that a little bit.
And I'm going to tell you what was said, that it's not fair because then you're not allowing everyone to have a fair say in every commissioner election. Now, mind you, about 10, 20 years ago, when we had all Caucasian commissioners in our county, which I didn't believe was right, and I supported it back then. They wanted to go to district-only voting, so there was an opportunity for the District 3 commissioner to be representative of the majority of the people in District 3, which were minority folks. There's certain commissioners that supported it then, but now they don't support it, and it didn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me, because if it was good back then, why isn't it good now? Same as delegate. I mean, it blows my mind. And I was disappointed in Annapolis because, like I said, a lot of other districts, including 27, which I don't know if folks know, but, District 27, which is Michael Jackson is the center of that district, 27A took up a large chunk of Waldorf. I mean, you have a really large chunk of Waldorf that is no longer in Senate District 28. It's in 27, which is in District 27 represents Charles County with 27A. I believe 27B is the one that's Prince George's, and 27C is Calvert County. So you have a Senate district that has three delegates that represent pretty much three different counties, but we can't even get three different areas of our county to be represented by a delegate. I'm not trying to pound on it, but I think it's not equity. It's not equitable. It's not fair. It's not right. And to the commissioner thing, I don't think it's right because it would make it easier for regular people to run for office if they didn't have to run a countywide race.
Would you run for delegate?
What?
Would you run for delegate?
I'm not running for delegate. Buddy Bowling Jr. is running for delegate.
I'm not talking about now. I'm talking about a couple years from now.
I think that you don't box in your possibilities.
Governor Bowling?
I think you don't box in your possibilities.
Well, we had a candidate on here recently that did exactly that. So that's interesting. But enough of that. Let's see. Let's get to some of these comments too as well. Pascal, people are afraid of running the district because they won't win.
I will. I'm just saying I'm not afraid of it. I'm not trying to sound arrogant, but I think that at the end of the day, if you serve the people in your district, you're fine. Represent them.
Got another fear from the people. So, Derek Terry, let's read this comment here. Maybe you can give me a common sense answer because obviously District 3 can't.
Oh my Lord.
Leave that to be vague and ambiguous. Why can't the Capitol Clubhouse be turned into a mini sports complex? We know that the ice rink is not being used by District 3 or Charles County residents.
This has been a topic of conversation by the Board of County Commissioners before. I don't have a really good answer for that, Derek. It is being used by, you're right, there's a lot of out-of-county folks that come in, but there are some in-county folks that use it. It does generate enough revenue to benefit the Capitol Clubhouse. I think we need more, not necessarily to cut that out. I think the more options we have for children to include, because it really is one of the only ice skating rinks in the area. I mean, that's why so many people come here for it, and it draws people in.
Yeah, I think not from Waldorf.
Well, no, but I think bringing something else to Waldorf would help. Mm-hmm. I think part of economic development is drawing people in from other areas to spend money here.
I agree.
So you're talking about like when we were the turf fields. There was a big discussion about bringing turf fields in, and that how people that do travel ball, travel football, or travel soccer would be able to. So we got grant money, and we're putting in some turf fields. They'll bring people into the county to spend their money in our local restaurants, our hotels, and stuff like that. So I don't think you minimize. I don't think you cut things out. I think you add. And to me, I do get it. I think that we do need to have more amenities. I mean, one of the things that when I came into office was the lack of basketball courts, and I think we've made some progress on that. I got a call even down in District 1, down in what's the name of it? The park down way down, Southern Park, I think. It's way down almost in Cobb Island. They had basketball courts, but they didn't have any rims or nets. So I got a call.
Just granted.
So it was just basically the backboard. Yeah, it was it was blacktop and just a backboard. And I called up Parks and Recs when I got in. Somebody called me and said, hey. So I called up Parks and Rec and said, hey, can you guys look into this? They got back and said, yeah, we don't have it. So I went through the process and we got nets and hoops there. So I'm not saying that we can't work on it. I think we just add to it. We don't cut away because I think it provides an amenity that the rink does, but I think we can do more.
I would like to see that. I don't know what area that is. That not the ice rink, obviously, but the multi-purpose court. I think there's a lot of work at the Capitol Clubhouse that can be changed with that. Like I like to see hardwood floor. I think you have enough for 4 basketball courts in there.
I'm not opposed to. I'm listening. I mean,
obviously, you can play indoor soccer there too as well, or different kind of sports with that. A better multi-purpose court. I mean, pick up on Saturdays. I mean, there's a lot that can be done with that space versus what's there now. I've been on that court several times. Not the greatest.
I hear you. No, it's absolutely. I'm open for the discussion. I think if we maybe have a town hall or something up about this specific thing.
You do have town halls.
I do. I have a lot of them.
I've got to give you credit for that one.
Yeah, there was a comment earlier about that, actually. I believe it was Laura. I can't find it, but she was basically asking if you obviously have a lot of town halls, open communication with the people.
Derek, explain your comment a little bit more. I'll read it.
Oh yeah, why is it that you seem to be the only commissioner who does outreach? That's what it was.
Listen, it's just my style. I can't speak for other commissioners. I just
Right.
I think to be an effective commissioner, you have to listen to the people. You have to be one of the people. You have to be out there. You can't isolate yourself. You can't work in a silo. And things change. The dynamics of things change, and you have to constantly just hear from the people. It is exhausting, but it's my job. There are some times where I have 2 people in there, but I still have them. This
Sometimes
online thing has been made it great because I can get questions online.
Like you said, sometimes you have 2 left. Which Angela, I didn't figure you comment either. You said sometimes you have 2 people in there.
Like literally, like 2 people sitting in there, and sometimes they're just political people. They're not really regular everyday citizens. It depends on the topic, and I try to get out ahead of it as far as making sure it's advertised. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of the advertising is me personally doing it.
You're active.
So
I don't think people are going to argue that.
I listen to people. I try to, and then some people get a little upset if you have them in other districts. But to me, I work for everybody. I vote. Everybody votes for me, so I go. I have ones in Waldorf. I have had ones in Nansemond. The food giveaways that I do, I'm going to continue to do them. I think it's been a very rewarding thing, not only for the folks that are benefiting from it, but for me. It's seeing, some of the struggles in our community. I mean, I will tell you, you talk about, I'm not trying to go off like a squirrel into things, but like when we're talking over in Nanjemoy, you talk about Title I schools, where schools that free and reduced lunch or kind of guide that, where there's a lot of underserved people that go to that school, a lot of underserved families that send their children to those schools. And one of the challenges, and I never thought of it from this perspective, when you have some of this development that goes on in some of these areas, you bump the income level of the students and the parents that send their kids to those schools up. And if it takes it out of Title I status, those kids don't get access to federal money because Title I brings in federal money. And I never thought of it like that. That if you, because it goes back to Charles County is now the wealthiest majority minority community in the state or in the country, and there's an incredible income gap in our community. I mean, there's people that are really well off. There's people that are really not well off, and finding a way to bring folks up and get them, raise them up. Rising tide raises all ships. It's just a lot of this stuff that we're talking about today just goes to that. I mean, what is your point in office? What is your goal? What are you trying to do? You're trying to make the community better. These are the things, and you get out in the community and you ask what is going to make it better. So that's why I do it.
Respect.
I can get to that question just yet. Leftwich and Angela. I'm gonna clean up everything with the ice rink too as well. Derek. So and someone else had this too as well. We don't want an ice rink. How many people in Charles County say, "Hey, let's go ice skating"? Not true. Derek asked me last week, go ice skating.
Man,
Thought it was romantic. I was
ice
like,
skate.
you know what? I'm kind of busy, but
No,
I think I
but
can
you
make
know,
time.
all joking aside, I know where Derek's going with this, and I can
Right.
I
I do too as well.
and so I don't want. I think that we need opportunities for kids to be able to do anything they want, and we shouldn't tie certain activities to certain demographics of people. But in the same sense, we need to recognize what certain demographics of people are. Majority of them are doing. So I get where Derek's going with this. I get what he's saying. It's an asset, but I'm willing to have discussions about how we can improve access to things people want to do. Does that make sense? What I'm saying?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously,
I-
Bentonville got the new basketball court out there. It's busy every single night.
Yeah. No,
So yeah,
But I understand. I'm not ignorant to the fact that some folks, I'm not saying specifically, might look at it as, well, they don't have basketball courts, so they don't want people that play basketball to be in our community. Well, that's not what I'm thinking. That I can understand that process of thinking, but that's not the way I'm looking. I'm looking at it more like, instead of cutting out the ice skating rink, let's add other stuff to make it better for everybody, and so that opportunity is still there. So if one day a kid says, "Hey, I want to go play ice hockey," or "I want to go ice skate," or "I want to be an ice skater," or whatever they want to do, that opportunity is there for them. You know, I just hate taking away an opportunity. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I think we add more.
yeah. I mean, there's no need to rip it out, take it out of there. You know, especially if Derek. One day he may want to go ice skating. So
He
it's
might
got to
wanna
be.
Leftwich said bromance.
Yeah, nah.
He's a good dude. Man.
Nah. Number of love for my guy Derek. He'll be here next week too as well. All right. So yeah, I mean, amenities in the community. The more you have, the more diversity you can have too as well. But
I see this. Can I commit to researching the vacant buildings being used? So you just had my email, or my email for myself.
It's
and my
posted.
sis-
Yep.
So, Michael, if you email me that, I will send that out and have a meeting with staff, and I can follow up on that. It's not a problem. I love talking, so I don't have a problem coming back and talking with you, Ricky.
oh, hey, you can come here anytime you want to.
I like
Yeah,
to run my mouth.
absolutely. Let's see. Samisha Thomas. Hey,
Samisha,
Samisha.
what's up?
How you doing? Soccer and volleyball played now too as well. So yeah, and Leftwich just no adding happening. So if you do have a legitimate multi-purpose court there, then there's a lot of things can happen. And volleyball is one sport that is growing in the area, I would say, too as well.
You know, it absolutely is, and I would say that I'm not opposed to looking into it. I don't know if there's, because a lot of times we have these great ideas, but then we go talk to staff and they're like, well, this is the problem you might run into, and I have no problem sitting back with a resident and saying, or a constituent and saying, listen, these
Town
are,
hall talking about it.
and talking about it and say, hey, this is just some of the challenges we run into by doing that. I just don't know if there are what they are. There is a place over in it's over off of Damar Road that they've converted and used for basketball.
Mhm.
It's like a complex over there. But yeah, I hear you.
Hey, you have a town hall on it. Get some good
Oh
turnout.
man, we got a town hall coming up, and actually, I'm bringing it back down to my district down in Benedict. Probably people, where the hell's Benedict? It's over on the water, going towards Calvert County. It's a nice little community down there, but we're having one in September after the election. Talk about some stuff down there. So
We did say you do a lot of District 1 stuff. You kind of leave the other districts to the other commissioners.
well, the food giveaways I've been.
He wouldn't have to do that if they just split the districts for the votes.
Wouldn't have to.
unless you run for president.
We'll see Ruben here in a couple weeks. But no, please go on.
About what?
All right, never mind. I thought you were going. I thought you were
Oh,
going
no,
to
no,
with that
no,
right
no.
there. Thought you were going somewhere with that. All right. Yes. We're finally gonna get to it. Absolutely. Have 4 people asked.
yes.
Homelessness in Charles County.
That is,
10 communities
So
behind the Waldorf and La Plata.
what's interesting is
Behind the Walmart and La Plata.
So you talk about 10 communities. I was looking at a flyer, and I love Lifestyles. They're a great community resource. They do a lot for the community. But they're advertising giving out tents. So it's almost, and I get it. It's a double-edged sword because you want to reach the people that are out there. And one thing, in my prior occupation, there's some people that choose to be homeless. There's some people that have no choice but to be homeless.
And
There's
they're working
people-
full-time jobs too as
and
well.
there's people, and like I told you, my wife works in the school system. There's a lot of kids that are homeless. They're living on couches. They're living in cars. They're living in encampments. They're living in friends' houses. It's a big issue, and it's a lot bigger than just homelessness. It's about affordable housing. It's about access to education, good quality jobs. What's the answer? Love, passion.
Is that? I mean, as a commissioner, is all you have to offer? Is there
No,
anything else we can do?
absolutely not. But I'm saying, I mean, when you're making policy decisions, you know, and you come back to talking about, you know, taxes. These are where your tax dollars are going to go. And there's a homeless shelter that was just opened up that was county supported up off of up near White Plains. We have a facility, the Fuller House. We have a facility, Angels Watch. There's a lot of homeless facilities. When we had a study done that said that a lot of our homeless transitional housing is the way to go. Not necessarily a shelter, but a transitional. I know that Sandy's working on Southern Crossing. There's no one solution to it. To be honest with you, it's not something that's just we're going to snap our fingers at it. It's just constantly going at it. And we talked about affordable housing earlier. Mm-hmm. It's going to have to be subsidized. I mean, there's a lot of things. I mean, different people bring different things to the table. A farmer, I'm trying to feed people. That's part of it too. The cost of food's going up. That's going to impact how people can pay their rent. Inflation, it's only going to get worse. And with inflation coming in, it's going to get worse. People that were just barely making ends meet, this is going to make it even harder. I mean, you don't want to see anybody not have a roof over their head and food in their belly. And those are basic necessities. And you talk about a civilized society. To me, a civilized society, those are the basic things that a civilized society should have. And the answer to that is working with our partners, like Lifestyles, and at the state. There was a project for tiny houses that came up at this last budget cycle. We put some money aside to study that. And I think that's how we continue to move forward. And we have projects we're working on right now with some nonprofit developers that are going to try to bring some affordable housing to the county. Working with the college to make sure these folks, there's folks that have education to be able to get careers that pay enough so they can actually live in a home. It's a tough situation, and it's not, even when I was in, like I said, my prior career, it's not always about just moving people along. It's like trying to find a solution to the problem, because there's a reason why they're living in a tent and don't have anything. Now, there are, granted, some people that's what they want. They want to live outside, but there's people that are just genuinely struggling. It breaks my heart, man. We just got to continue to push forward and try to find, policies that can help them, and part of it's affordable housing.
I mean, homelessness is a issue across America. It's not a unique issue in Charles County.
And I see something that says love and food basket, y'all, and laughing. It's not funny. It's really not. I'm a farmer. I've been, farming my entire life. That's what I can give back. And I don't see anybody else, not a lot of other. If it's funny, then why don't you do something? And it does anger me, because I give my time and my personal money, my livestock, I take and have processed and give it away to folks, and it brings a smile to their face because they're able to go home and actually make a decent meal. So I don't think it's funny. I think that's what my God-given ability has been to farm, and I do that my part. And then I come into the county, and and I do take it personally, because that's me giving back. I don't have to do that, but I do it because I think it's the right thing to do. And so when people joke about, giving baskets away and that I'm buying, no, I'm not. I've been doing this well before the election. I've been doing this for 4 years because I think it's the right thing to do. I think no child should go to bed hungry. They should be able to have a full belly and go into school and be ready to learn. And maybe sometimes I take things a little personally because I care. That's all. Sorry. I will digress a little bit.
No.
Yeah.
So we talked about I'm looking at some of these comments too as well. I guess one of the questions, if I could sum this up too as well, as far as public options, you mentioned a couple private companies that can do things.
Yeah.
As far as public,
we've had some nonprofit developers come to us, and their goal is to build affordable housing, and not just something that's going to be a 10-year thing, like sustainable. And we brought that option in. We've had meetings about it, talking with them about where in the county we can, put it that it best maximizes like infrastructure, water, sewer, access to walkable communities, and stuff like that. So I think you can't, like, sitting here just listening to all these, comments about different ideas from Parks and Rec and stuff like that. That's how you generate stuff. I'm not going to have every idea. I mean, there's people that are professionals in our community. They're going to come up with great ideas that maybe aren't elected official. But if you're not having town halls and not listening to people, you're never going to get it to the policy end. So to me, in forums like what you're having right here are how we come up with solutions and fix problems, quite frankly. And, people call, quote unquote, evil developers. Well, a lot of those evil developers are willing to come to the table and help with this affordable housing crisis. And, it's going to be a collaboration, but also having honest conversations with the developers, saying you're not just going to come in and cut and run. We're going to make this a better and quality community. So those are just honest conversations we can have.
I want to read a comment here from Jane Williams. As much as lifestyles do for the community, feeding and providing shelter, why aren't they included in the county budget? Even the Department of Social Services is included in the budget.
I'm sorry, where's that again?
Jane.
Third question.
Third question. Well,
fourth
no,
one
now.
from the bottom.
They absolutely, actually, they are. There's things in the budget that are directed specifically for them. And the charitable trust is a kind of a way to be fair about how we give money, because there's a lot more than just lifestyles, a lot more nonprofits than lifestyles out there to do things in the community. So when the previous administration established the charitable trust, which is kind of like the charitable arm of the county, and we allocate money to the charitable trust, they disperse the money to different nonprofits in the county. And I've actually been a big proponent, because there's a level of separation from the county and the charitable trust that has to happen. Okay. But I proposed last year, and I think it's probably a good idea to move forward, that we have like a vision letter that goes out every year, like where we as a board, like we can't tell the charitable trust where to send that money, but we can say, like, this is what we're seeing in the community. Like, we're seeing a food, desert problem. We're seeing a homeless problem. This is where we believe the money should be directed. And there's people that are appointed on this board from the volunteers in the community that kind of disperse that money out. Because it really wouldn't be fair to have an entity directly in the budget. It's just, there has to be, because then every nonprofit wouldn't want to be in the budget, and it's not a proper way to do it.
Now, as far as the charitable trust, clean this up for me if I'm wrong. I thought the Board of Commissioners oversee the money that goes there.
No, we send the money and they basically disperse it as they see fit.
So you just give them, it's in the budget.
We like this year it was $1 million again, and I asked, actually, because of the current situation, I put a budget amendment in and we added another $300,000 to it. So it's like 1.3, I think, this year. Okay. And my philosophy behind that is, quite frankly, to be responsible. From a budgetary standpoint, that we have a baseline of what we give the charitable trust every year. And then we talked about fund balance, about money that was left over from the previous year. Then we can go into that in a good year where we have plenty of money, that we give them more. Mm-hmm. If there's a year where it's tight, then we have to stick with the baseline. But when we have more money and we can give more and we can do more, it's kind of like your personal finances. When you have, you should do something in the community, but when you have a little more, maybe give a little more. But when you don't and you got to take care of home, you kind of have to pull it back a little bit. Does that make sense? That's kind of the way I was looking at it.
Okay. I'm gonna read this comment here. I'm gonna keep this thing moving too as well. Angela, where's that comment at? There it is. I thought we had affordable housing built in St. Charles as a requirement to develop.
They do have some, but it's not enough.
I mean, any idea how many units?
I don't know the exact number of units, but there are some that are in there. It's not enough. I mean, our population is not what it was in 1960. So the amount that is in there is just not enough. And quite frankly, everybody wants to move to Charles County, and it's people are paying top dollar for homes here. I mean, we just talked about, we're the wealthiest majority minority community in the country, and I knew it was coming. I could feel it in my bones, because we have a lot of wealthy folks moving in this county, and it's also a badge of honor, but it's also a badge of, now there's people be gunning for us. I mean, that was a pretty big badge for Prince George's County to have. Now we have it.
I grew up PG County.
So now that's something you market. When you go to market, you want to move to our community. That's something to market the county for. It's great for us. But again, it falls back on, with great power comes great responsibility, and we have a responsibility to the underserved in our community to make sure that I couldn't sleep at night if we didn't do the right thing. Does that make sense? We just can't be a wealthy community and not take care of the people that are underserved. It's just not the right thing to do.
So I'm looking at Mr. Leftwich comments here too as well. He doesn't seem too thrilled with, and I just want you to clean this up, Leftwich, with exactly which part. Are we talking about homelessness, or are we talking about something else? But as far as, I don't want to. I believe it's about homelessness, but I want to make sure that we're on the same page here.
No, yeah, that's what he was going. I believe we have a homelessness problem. We should build some of the small homes on the airport property. That's where he was going with it.
What's that?
So, I'm just looking at these comments. Mm-hmm. I'll read Stephanie's for now. When we come back, we'll come back full circle with that one. Homelessness. There it is. Okay. If you get, we'll circle back around. So if you can, as far as you mentioned, public housing too, as well as things we could do, or developers, nonprofits coming down here. Is there anything else we can do? Because he's not. There's people I've talked to here too as well, and I think Leftwich had a comment here that you have individuals in this county that work 40 hours a week but still can't afford to live in Charles County. And they're living in these tent communities. They're not just homeless individuals just here. Obviously, you've dealt a lot with this issue, and obviously everything takes money to fix. But is there anything that we can do, or anything you have done in the past 4 years to help alleviate, or at least provide legitimate aid to them?
So we actually have a couple projects that they're actually moving forward that are for affordable housing for our seniors. One is off of I believe St. Charles Parkway. There's another one. So I have to get you the exact address, but I can think of two off the top of my head that we're moving forward. And the way we were able to make them more affordable is basically provide tax relief when it comes to property taxes. Basically waive some of their property taxes in order for the prices of the units to be less expensive. What else can we do? I mean, personally, tax money is your money. It's your money. What we're going to spend to subsidize and make housing affordable, the price of building a home isn't going to change. It amounts to the taxes and subsidies and incentives that we provide to these developers so that they can make a profit, but also can make it affordable. It goes back to becoming. Again, I keep repeating it because people are moving here that have a lot of money, and if somebody can pay a lot of money for a house, you have the option for a developer to build a home and make a lot of money, or affordable housing. Trying to make that, there's going to have to be a subsidy to make it a business model right for the for the developer to come in and do it, and it's going to cost money to do that. So we have a couple projects that are moving forward. It takes time. They're in the planning stage, and like I said, I believe one's off St. Charles Parkway. There's another one, and there's actually a third one in the Pike that we're working on now. It's really not. It's kind of in a negotiation standpoint, so we really can't talk publicly about it. But there's a third one. There's constantly ones, and there was a discussion about coming up with an overall plan for affordable housing in the county and kind of where it's going to be and making sure it's close to amenities, like people can walk. You can put an affordable housing project somewhere in my district but do they have access to transportation? Are they able to walk to the grocery store? Are they able? And there's not a lot of that option down in my district outside of La Plata. So these are overall conversations and policy and decisions that are being made right now and are going to move forward as we go over the next 4 years.
Okay. AJ, you see this comment right here? Stephanie, can you read that? I'm going to take a look at something over here.
You find it.
You just read it right here.
The charitable trust one?
Yeah.
All right, gotcha. Charitable trust. So you tax us and then decide which charities our money goes to. Why can't citizens choose their own charities to give to? My property tax bill is up to $1,200 from when we bought our home in 2015. Just received it this past week.
No, absolutely, and kind of that's the opposite of what another comment was. Well, why aren't we putting nonprofits in the actual budget? I think it's a healthy balance. County has always given money to nonprofits, just to kind of where they see where there's gaps in services or gaps in like homelessness and other services. And it's not just homelessness that goes towards. There's arts and arts programs. I believe any real nonprofit can apply to for these funds. It's not the commissioners that decide where they go. It's the charitable trust. So if you have a nonprofit in the county, there's certain parameters they have to meet to be able to apply and get the money. Mm-hmm. Springdale Center is a place that applies for these funds. Basically, any nonprofit registered in the county can apply for the funds. So, yes, we do. We take some county funds and we make it available for programs that benefit the community as a whole. I understand. I pay taxes.
What's the? And I don't know if you could release this information. What's the percentage or like amount? That
It's public information.
Okay,
Charitable Trust releases that. So if you go onto the Charitable Trust website, they'll release how much. And a lot of money this past time went. This past COVID money we had went through the Charitable Trust and went out to because there was a lot of people struggling for a lot of things.
Right.
So that's kind of where the arm we use to get that money out there.
Okay.
Derek, keep in mind, if you do if anyone demands or requests the county government to assist in anything, it's going to cost money. Community outreach also helps out with that too as well.
Do developers apply for incentives?
Developers apply. Oh yeah, yeah. You're talking about a lot of times.
I think so. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're talking about like the nonprofits that are trying to, they come to us and say, hey, we recognize your community wants more affordable housing in their community. We can offer that, but here's what we need to make it work. Here's what we need to, and they usually come in a legal session, because it really is a legal agreement between the county and the private developer, and then it'll eventually come out and we'll say, you know, what the agreement is. But for the most part, it's usually some type of tax deferment or something like that that makes it so that the developer can charge less for their units when they rent them out. And there's details ironed out as that agreement signed as to, you know, what the actual amounts will be and how long it'll be in place.
Yes, I need glasses, Leftwich. Thank you.
We talked about this a little bit earlier. Let's talk campaign financing.
Sure.
So, someone offers you money. How does that process work? You take the money, you do what they ask you to do.
I mean, anybody that runs a campaign, or that runs for office knows that it takes. The reality is, all best of intentions. Running for office, it costs money to run a campaign. It costs money to get your message out there. You have to, you know, get your messaging out there. Just because you give me money doesn't mean that I'm going to vote for what you want me to vote for. It means you're investing in a candidate that's going to do the right thing. It's going to be honest and have a lot of town halls and listen to the community. There's been instances I had a town hall down in Newburgh where a constituent said, well, you know, this very same question, you took money from developers, you're owned by the developer. No, that's not true. I said, I'll give you an instance. There's the project I'm working down in Newburgh is owned by a developer, owns the majority of the land. If I was owned by the developers, I wouldn't be trying to downzone their land into farmland and keep it in farmland, not into homes. You know, when people give to me, they're given to a candidate that they know is going to work hard for the community. And I think we talked about this earlier, Ricky. I look at it like this: you know, somebody gives, you know, campaign donations. If your vision or your project happens to cross the best interest of the community, hey, we're in a good place. But if the interest of your business or whatever you're doing doesn't, dude, just because you give me money doesn't mean I'm going to vote for what you want me to vote for. It just means, you know, you want me to be in office because you believe in my philosophy of governing.
I don't think this Newburgh individual is going to fund your campaign again.
They're asking about the Newburgh project. So
let's talk about that one.
The Newburgh project, the county during the comprehensive plan was broken down into tier maps. Tier map 1 is current water and sewer, like La Plata or Waldorf. It already has water and sewer. Tier 2 is where they expect to expand water and sewer. Tier 3 is where you can have a minor subdivision up to 30 homes. And Tier 4 is you can only have up to 7 homes on any piece of property. So you could have 400 acres. The most you're getting is 7 lots. So the Newburgh sub-area plan, or the Newburgh area, most of my district is in Tier 4 or Tier 3. There are very few areas in Tier 1 or Tier 2. I'll give you some examples of Tier 1, one which will relate to Newburgh. Swan Point's Tier 1 has some Tier 2 in it because they already have water and sewer plant down there. La Plata is mostly Tier 1 and Tier 2 because they have water and sewer there. And the third spot is down in Newburgh. There is Tier 1 in a community called Clifton on the Potomac, which is right before you go over the bridge into Virginia. Mm-hmm. And there's about, 900 to 1,000 acres just outside of Tier 1 and Tier 2, which is a whole lot of beautiful farmland right there behind Newburgh Marina. I don't believe, and neither does the community down there, that land and that area is suitable for future water and sewer. I don't believe expanding water and sewer in that area is best for the community or the environment or transportation or economic development. In order to change that, we had to go through a process. And the process starts with me making the proposal and going before the Planning Commission. The Planning Commission had a public hearing. They went through a work session. I wanted to change that Tier 2 to Tier 4, which is pretty much farmland, maximum of 7 lots. Planning Commission said they would like to wait till we do the sub-area plan down there. So then it comes to the commissioners. We had a public hearing. I had 3 or 4 town halls down there. I'm telling you, the people down there, they want it to go into Tier 4. They don't want that water and sewer expansion. They don't want the high-density residential down there. They don't think it fits. The environmental impact is going to be huge. Right now, it's in the process of, we left the record open for 60 days, and we're going to have a public hearing. We're probably at 30 days. We'll have 30 more days of open record. It'll have the public hearing, and then we'll have a work session and vote on it. I am going to vote to put it in Tier 4. I think it's a great example of sprawl development that we don't need. And I just don't think it fits in the plan of the county. And it goes back to what we were talking about before. If I was, supposedly quote unquote bought by the developers, why would I be proposing this? Honestly, I'm looking at what's best for the community. There's some projects that are good projects. I look at the Waldorf Station project. I think it's going to be a good project. I just do what I think's right.
So just to be clear, you'll take the money, but you won't do the bidding of anyone.
No.
You'll do
the bidding of the people.
But you'll still take the money, though.
Of course.
You know what? I can't get mad at the honesty.
No, I'm being honest. I mean, it's gonna put my flyers out. I mean, it's gonna get my my name out there, and I'm gonna be able to make a difference.
Let me read this question up here.
Yeah, hold on. I want to backtrack too real quick.
I'm gonna get a Derek, and then we're gonna go down from there.
That's what I was looking at.
Go ahead.
So, at any point in time, would it be a conflict of interest for the charitable fund to award funds to an elected official's nonprofit?
Man, that sounds like a very specifically asked question.
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that question, but I can find out.
I'm aware of that one too as well. I'll have to agree with Allie as far as that one goes. Okay.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Deborah, how you doing? Speaking of Newburgh, what is the latest on
What's this? Shady is what the? Find the Michael. Who is Shady is?
I want to.
It said so. He went. Most of the big old plantation. My bad. Comments come in. Most of the big old plantations have already sold, right? The ones that are left aren't connected to the good old network.
That's not true. There's a lot of families that still own their farms. I don't know about plantations, but farms, yes.
Morgantown Power Plant. What's the future? What's going on with that?
So I'll talk what I can talk about because a lot of it's in private negotiations between the private owners of that place and the potential buyers. There is a plan. There have been negotiations between the people that GenOn that's selling it and the potential buyers that are trying to bid on it. I will tell you that there's a lot of factors that go in to play with that GenOn plant: environmental factors, economic development factors. There's other sites that GenOn owns that are kind of loosely tied to that site. I look at the biggest goal for that site. One, economic development wise, it's a huge hit we're taking that we got to make sure we find ways to replace that. A
lot of revenue we're losing with that one.
Revenue, we planned for it. We knew this was coming. So we planned for, I can't remember the amount of years we set aside money for, but we've set aside money to make up that gap. I can get you the exact amount of years worth of money we set aside, but we did set money aside, knew this was coming.
Yeah, definitely love to see that.
We knew it was coming, so we set aside money for this to stopgap measure.
For how long? How many years?
I don't know the exact number of years, but I can get that for you. Again, if you just send me a list of these questions, I'll try to get the answers for you and get them back to you as soon as possible.
Write that one down. Comment section. Don't let me forget that either.
But there's environmental concerns there. I don't want, they've been operating that coal-fired plant there for a long time, and I want to make sure that a large corporation just doesn't bail out and leave us with a huge environmental mess. Even though that's regulated by the Maryland Department of Environment and the EPA, this is in our backyard, and we're going to hold them accountable. And that's part of the negotiations that are going on right now, and I've educated myself on what's going on as far as the history of the plant, the environmental concerns of the plant, and some of the properties that are tied to it. It's not just what's at face value. There's a lot more to it. And I really wish I could be more liberal in what I'm talking about, but there's, like I said, it's still a matter of a private treaty and sale that I can't talk a lot about, but know that your commissioner is very well educated on what's going on down there, and I'm making sure there's accountability. Ultimately, at the end, a lot of it is the state, but because of the regulatory things that are going on down there, but I've educated myself on the project, so I'm asking the questions that need to be asked.
So as far as these negotiations you're talking about, this is part of the long-term plan?
Yeah, there's a lot, and there's also the Newburgh sub-area plan that's going to come into effect that we're going to have, like what they're doing in Bryan's Road, the Newburgh or the Bryan's Road sub-area plan. They're going to have the next one up is the Newburgh one, and that'll be incorporated as part of that plan.
Okay, AJ, we got any comments? We're about at 2 hours right now, so we're gonna start.
Oh my lord!
Hey, that's how it is. That is when you come here. It's like time traveling.
Nah, I don't see anything. There was one I wanted to go back to. Actually, it was pretty earlier in the podcast from Laura.
That's the top 3, right?
Yes.
Yeah, top 3. See, I remember comments. I remember comments very well. Yeah, so you get reelected. What's the you mean like top couple things you're trying to get accomplished for this next term?
One, I want to continue to work on education. I want to continue to build upon what we've already done. The blueprint's going to be important, making sure that's fully funded, and we support the Board of Education. I foresee just because of the incumbents that aren't running, a new Board of Education that Dr. Navarro is going to have to work with. 2, I would say public safety. If people don't feel safe in their community, then they're not going to move here. They're not going to stay here. Making sure we're working with the Sheriff's Department, and it's not just about Sheriff's Department. It's also about our Department of Emergency Services and making sure that the infrastructure is in place for healthcare and for the services that this demanding population is going to need. Next, I would say transportation, working on the Western Parkway and finishing that out, making sure people can get in and out of our county, and the roads that we already have are kind of improved, and economic development, what's going to pay for everything. Making sure we're continuing to attract businesses to the county, providing a positive economic climate here in the county, and listening to the people of what they want and trying to get us where we need to be. It's been a good 4 years. Broadband's been a huge success, and it kind of wraps around all of those things, from public safety to education to transportation. Broadband's kind of the string that ties all that together, so to speak. We've had a lot of stormwater management issues that when President Biden came down with all the funding from the American Rescue Plan, there's 2 sources that money went to. One was broadband, and the second was stormwater management. And going back and trying to help these communities. We had a meeting up in Bannister about some of the challenges they face up in Bannister with the sidewalks and stormwater and drainage and stuff like that. So I think trying to get out to these communities and getting those problems fixed. Charles County is a swamp. It was built on a swamp, and some of these challenges they're not going to go away. And I think and that's when you talk about affordable housing, and I hate to say it like this, but the reality is, where we are, the amount of money it takes to put in a development is expensive, because we have put in protocols so that some of the issues and challenges we're facing now, we don't face in another 20 years, that we're putting the proper infrastructure in, the stormwater management issues, all those things we've learned from things that maybe weren't done exactly the way they need to be done.
Ali, I'm looking at your comment too as well. We talked about it earlier in the podcast, but that's not really something we can just kind of sum up and go from there. But I'm gonna let you go ahead and do that. Actually, before I want to do that, Deborah, I almost missed your comment too as well. So back real quick to Morgantown. Can you say whether they are planning to stay industrial, or if it's a change, and what type of use generally?
I'm sorry, can you read that again?
Cool, Ali, appreciate it. I'll try to timestamp it for you. Can you, as far as Morgantown, Deborah, can you say whether they are planning to stay industrial, or if it's going to be a change?
That hasn't been decided. I mean, it hasn't been ironed out yet, but it's part of the discussion.
Okay. And Ali, I did wish you a happy birthday earlier on the podcast too
birthday.
as well.
Was celebrating my birthday, so tuned in late.
Yeah,
understandable.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, Leftwich. What's some of your highlights as a commissioner in these past 4 years?
I'm laughing because I'm looking at some people with the broadband. Yeah, say broadband 3 times. BJ Bowen does pop up because it's that important to our people.
I heard you pop up with a food basket too as well.
I'll pop up with a food basket, broadband, land preservation, education fully funded. Let's see what else. see
going back down the list.
See where we go with this. Sheriff's Department, making sure they have what they need. We got the body cameras funded. I think we've accomplished a lot. What we've done in Indian Head, we've gotten a lot of businesses over there in Indian Head. It's really starting to drive up our commercial tax base. Has it been perfect? No. We were going through a health crisis for 2 years, but we accomplished a lot. We got Kaiser down here, we got Amazon down here, we got the bomb techs down here. A lot of economic development is happening. We're a growing county. Are things perfect? No, but we were talking about my town halls. I am all ears. I am listening. You talk about people are angry about their property taxes. They're high. Give me some ideas, and don't just say it's my job to figure it out. Well, I'm laying out there where we're spending our money, and I don't hear people saying where they want it cut, because they don't want it cut. They just want like a magic pill that's going to make it taxes decrease and services increase. It's just not going to happen. I think the best, as a commissioner, our job is to be responsible with the taxpayers' money, to listen to our constituents, be available, be available for when they have questions, and be transparent. And I think I've done all these things, and I've kept the promises I've made, which is to be honest and work hard for the community, and I'll continue to do that over the next 4 years.
Allie said she's got some cuts.
I love to hear them. Fire away.
I'm pretty.
It's probably gonna
Actually, I would.
It's probably gonna be all the things everybody else has been advocating for: the parks and better education and stuff like that.
Allie, there's some things you'll cut. I'm just I'm curious. Pascal. Oh, Pascal, I didn't say hello. How you doing today? Children's Hospital.
That's a good question, because the hospital thing comes up a lot. As far as hospitals are concerned, that was one of the first things we got in office. Why don't we have a hospital in Waldorf? And I said, why don't we have a hospital in Waldorf? I think that's where our population base is. We should have it up there. And I found out the federal government regulates how funding comes down for healthcare, expenses. Like Medicaid, Medicare, a lot of different things, and it's very much a regulated industry. And I didn't realize that. So it's not like you can just go build a hospital. I mean, you can, but there's got to be profit margins and stuff like that when these hospitals are built.
Does that do like DHA or something?
It was when I was talking with Congressman Hoyer about it. There's a lot of things that have to do with how the government funds the payment of healthcare things. Believe it or not, there's a lot of government money that goes into hospitals to keep them running. So there's some type of and I'll get the exact word for it. I wasn't quite expecting it today that question, but I know that has come up many times. And of course, I mean, we got MedStar, some of these clinics that are coming in, but an actual hospital, it's not as easy as people when they close. Like, I'll give you an example. Like when they closed down Prince George's Hospital, they didn't just keep 2 hospitals open. They closed that one down and moved Prince George's Hospital over to Largo. So that's just an example of how it's not as easy as you would think to just put up another hospital. But I'd be more than willing to have a town hall and a discussion and bring people that can give the straight answers for that. That's something I'd be willing to do.
I'm intrigued. Well, my interest is piqued as I'm looking at the comment section. Allie, I'm curious too as well. Man, will kill if you get too involved in the pod. Don't get too involved. Just list a few things. We'll go from there. How's the campaign going? Re-election.
I'm gonna win.
Hey, there it is. Okay.
I
love the confidence.
I feel good about it. I've worked hard. And you know what? If I don't, I gave it everything I got. I went out there and I worked hard for 4 years. I can, walk away saying I gave the community everything I had and did my very, very best and gave it a good, hard college try this last campaign. But I feel good about it. I think there's been some nastiness that's gone around, but I've stayed positive. I've tried. I mean, my skin is thick. Sometimes it gets I get a little testy. There's some things that I take personally sometimes that I probably shouldn't. But I care. I genuinely care about the community. I don't do this for the money. I don't do it for the prestige. I don't do it because I'm a narcissist. I do it because I want this to be a better community for my kids and yours. And the only way to make it better is to get involved. And that's why I ran. The 50 to 60 cattle herd I run at the farm would say I do have another job I could do and keep me very, very busy. So I appreciate you letting me come on here and talk. I don't know if you've had any other sitting commissioners come on and talk with you, but I was happy to come on.
We got Ruben Collins here in the we had to reschedule that.
When's he coming on?
The 28th.
After the election? Come on, man.
He would have been on here yesterday, but we had to it was a good reason. We had to reschedule.
I think I know the
reason. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean I expect you to, so.
But I mean, I feel good about it. I mean, I'm here. I'm an open book. You ask me questions, I'll answer them. So.
No, you're here. You've been taking questions from the people, so. And obviously you're active online, so I mean, I've seen
Sometimes it's a downfall, man, because some people take your things and twist them and like you're trying just to say something really nice, and they just twist it to something just to totally take it out of context.
You got any PR? Are you your own PR?
What do you mean, PR?
Yeah, public relations. Are you your own?
I'm my own guy, man. That's a one man band.
One man record show.
Nah, my wife says I need to get the hell off my phone. I'm too on it too damn much. But, I think one thing that I hope that the citizens can appreciate is the accessibility. I don't go hide. I didn't, get elected and then disappear for 3 years and then all of a sudden 6 months before an election pop back up answering questions. I've been in, town halls and everything or something that's started from day one. It hasn't stopped.
I've been waiting for this question
there
to pop up.
That get you a PR rep?
No, left witch.
Your shirt looks orange. Oh my God.
Left witch.
Oh, the Photoshop? Oh, that.
No, does it really look orange? Oh my God.
Nah, that looks fine over here.
It looks
Yeah,
fine,
but
yeah.
I hear what I hear. I get the tone of the joke. I tell you, and I'll just say this: if your entire campaign is based around knocking down another candidate, do you really have a platform? And what are you going to be when you become a commissioner? And that's just me speaking the truth, man. Tell what you're going to do. Not don't talk about and then give half stories about the candidate and not tell the full story. And even to the just keep it professional.
So real quick,
They learn a lot about you. You did give away a lot of meat.
last one left, which said, "What's up with the donkey?"
Oh my God, man!
It's
The donkey.
I've been waiting for this
Yeah,
question to pop
I
up.
was too.
So, I was at that event, the Reopen Charles County event, and there were a lot of people there. A lot of people that were making comments about the donkey were there too.
We were there.
You all were there.
Yep, a lot of people in the comment section, yeah.
lot of Democratic candidates there, and I'm sitting inside having a Coca-Cola, and somebody says, "Hey, BJ, why don't you take a picture with the donkey outside? He's a symbol of your party." And it was, I guess they were kidding around because they were a Republican. I was like, I don't have a problem with that. I mean, the donkey is a symbol of my party. So I walk outside and, they have the donkey there and I take a picture with the donkey. I never in a million years would have thought it would have been turned into being insensitive about a culture. Because I'm not going to sit here and say I have a lot of Hispanic friends because I do, and Latino friends. I do have a lot. And I never in a million years would have taken it to that level. I respect people's cultures. I'm Irish. But I understand, I learned a lesson. And I took a lesson from that. As much as I didn't have the intent, the perception was maybe that I was being insensitive. So now I take things through a different lens, and I try to be a little more cognizant of what I do and culturally sensitive. It was never meant for that intent. And if anybody that knows me personally knows that's the last thing that I was trying to do.
Well, you gave me a podcast to talk about it, so we were to call us that night and everything. It was.
Did I call you that night?
No, you didn't. I think some people reached out to you, but you were.
I mean, I was just. I
maybe busy on the
phone. I
farm.
cannot believe this is going that route, and even my friends are calling me like, "Really, BJ?" And I'm like, I really didn't. I didn't. But you know what? Some of the people that are making comments, they just don't know me, and that goes back to perception. They don't know that. People. I was having this conversation at the polls, and we were greeting people and meeting people. Give people the benefit of the doubt and some credit. They can see into your soul when you talk to them. They can see when you're genuine and when you're full of it. And anybody that's met me knows that I'm not full of it. I'm going to be genuine, and if I make a mistake, I'll own it. So
we're over here to look at these comments.
They're starting to get rowdy. What's going on?
Yeah, so it's my thing too as well, that you learn from it. You became a little more sensitive to the fact
Absolutely.
of everything, and then I know we hold you to that.
no, I mean, I mean, I don't
Second
have
chances. I mean, yeah.
And the thing is, and maybe that's part of getting to know more people, and that's talk about campaigns. Well, how do you get to know people? You have podcasts. You go out and you have town halls. You meet people. What might be an action to you that is is one direction. To me, literally, I was thinking of the party, the donkey in the party, but some other folks. And then when I look back on it and I think about when the party was, and I'm like, oh my God, I can see where somebody would have pieced that together because it was Cinco de Mayo. But that wasn't the thought process for me. And I'm going to be honest with you, as an elected official, you are constantly on pins and needles because what you and your friends and anybody that knows me, I have a very diverse group of friends. They know your heart. They know that that's not what you meant. But when you're in a public position, people, I don't want to say some people are opportunists. Some people are just genuinely, they didn't like the perception. So
Leftwich is such an idiot.
I see him. Yeah, but yeah. So I mean, we live, we learn. We had a podcast. A lot of people called in too, so we talked on it. It was very. I got to send you that one too as well. I don't think.
Which one? What's that?
The podcast I was talking about when we talked about that whole
donkey thing?
Yeah,
I didn't see.
There was more. There was
a podcast about a donkey.
Nah, it wasn't just about that. No, hell, absolutely not. No, it was more a little. I'll send it to you.
This dude Michael Leff, which is funny, is I'd love to have him here and talk to him, man. Do y'all know him personally?
I've met him. Yeah.
Yeah,
he's a cool guy. Yeah, he's not bad at all. All right, so we're past 2 hours.
Did I beat the length of time for the other infamous? Did I have more views than your other infamous candidate?
Which one, Mink or Charles? I mean, both of those were.
Mink? Who's Mink?
Mink running for clerk.
Oh, he had a lot of people on there.
He had
We'll
He
talk
did.
about it offline.
Yeah, he was,
Yeah.
that was another interesting one. But this is no, this is good. This is good. But so before we go to as well,
Absolutely.
last word to the voters. Obviously, we have the election on the 19th. So what's something that you would like to say? You know, if anyone's on the fence still thinking about BJ Bolden.
Listen, I love this county. I've been here. I've lived here my entire life. I grew up here. I've seen the changes. I want to make a positive impact. I believe over the last 4 years, I've proven that I'm going to work hard for the community. I'm going to listen to everyone. I'm going to, listen to different perspectives, whether it's political differences, whether you're a Republican or a Democrat or independent, whether you're black, white, Latino. I'm going to listen to everybody, and I'm going to make decisions based on what the people want and based on what I feel is best for the community. I've proven that I'm going to be out there in the community. I'm not going to just go hide behind my desk. I've proven I'll make tough decisions when it has to be made. I've proven I can work with people. And I don't take it for granted that I represent people and I represent my district. You're cracking me up, man. You're laughing.
Leftwich, he just every time, man.
And what I'll tell you guys is, and on a side note, I was out walking in Camden, and we have a wonderful community. And I think we have a very diverse community. When I've been walking different areas of the county, think if just people just listened more instead of talking over people. Just listen to people and the different perspectives and their different life experiences. I mean, even as we joke about this donkey thing, learn from it, man. Just learn from it. I'm not getting angry about it. I'm like, I just didn't think of it like that. And I think when it comes to any subject or topic, if you are just have an open mind and are willing to listen to people that just because you've been here, whether you've been here for 5 minutes or 50 years, you have just as much right to be participating in the government as anybody else, and you have just an equal of an opinion. And I just I'm grateful to be able to sit in this seat. I look forward and ask for your vote for another 4 years, and I feel good about it. I feel like we can make this county even better over the next 4 years, and I appreciate the opportunity. So, and I'm glad early voting's done. That's been a lot of work.
Yeah,
I've
heard a lot of things about early voting, so it's been a hell of a time. But yes, please, definitely got to have you back on the podcast too as well.
Yeah, for sure.
So
we'll make sure Leftwich is here
these
too.
Jokes.
We'll make sure Leftwich is here.
And
y'all are rough on some of my colleagues.
No, we do appreciate you being available and accessible.
Absolutely, man. That's
Yeah.
just, and I tell you
definitely important. And a lot of comment sections said the same thing too as well.
I hope that more people, and I'm gonna say something, and I'm just gonna shout out because I know her son, Jane Williams. We need more people like her son running for office. I don't know if y'all know Greg Waring.
Personally, no, I don't.
No, but her son Greg is a good dude. He ran for commissioner last time, and we have a lot of talent in this county. And this seat isn't meant to be occupied by the same person for a long, long time. We need to cultivate a culture of great leaders. And I think when it's time to move on, pass the baton and pass it on to the next person. And you asked earlier about another office. I just don't know. I don't know where my family's going to take me, what the farm's going to take me. But this is a really good thing, man. I hope you really – I want to thank you for allowing me to come on here and just I think you're doing a really good thing for the community. And shame on anybody that doesn't want to engage with you and do the right thing, because they shouldn't be scared of anything. If you do the right thing, just come on here. And have I not answered any questions?
Hey, you know what? That last part you said too as well. Cut that up. Make a nice little clip.
Yeah,
Which one?
exactly.
Which one's that?
Absolutely. Oh, what you just said.
Oh.
Anyone is to come on here? Yeah, absolutely. So no, we try to do our part. So we definitely appreciate you coming here and talking to the people. That's what it's
Hey, I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I'm working hard for that one vote, man. I've been working that vote for like 6 months. But every vote counts, man.
You hear that, Pascal? Oh, District 2. Oh, fun times over here. So, yes.
Oh, my God. This is some funny stuff, man. Y'all,
got a lot to talk about tomorrow.
election night ought to be fun, man. I'll be honest, I don't think it's going to be decided election. I think these absentee ballots, unless somebody really runs away with it, which I just don't know if it's going to happen, it's going to be a couple days before you really know who's going to be walking away with it. So,
well, great you brought that up. We'll be live for election night.
here?
Yes.
Who's going to be here?
Derek Terry will be here. Allie Rock will be here too as well.
Man, you're going to have
AJ will be
come
here.
on, Jason.
I'll be here. I'll be
Yeah.
stopping by. I'll make sure to bring my glasses, Leftwich.
Hey, man, I'm not trying to make a joke. You going to cook for everybody?
You know what? I might just do that. I might just do that.
I'll be if you want, hey, candidates, y'all want to call in that night, feel free.
Oh man, I don't know if I want to call in that night. That might not be a good thing. I have a DD for that night. Drive me around.
Oh, even more reason to call in.
No, man.
I'll be, hey, look, I'm gonna have a little something over here with me too as well, a little red cup. So yeah,
Good stuff, man. Again, I appreciate it, guys. Thanks for having me.
yeah,
Thank
for
you
sure.
for coming on.
Absolutely. Like I said, we'll be live Tuesday for election night coverage, and then after that, actually, I need to talk to Stacy. Zach gonna be in the studio. Zach, call in. Hell, come on down here, make an appearance. You know where the place is at. Hey, we have a rotating seat. We'll figure something out, but yeah.
My wife's not gonna believe me.
Yeah.
Was it
Samisha
when I-
definitely call
Yeah.
in.
Is it damn near 10 o'clock, man?
Was that
My wife's not gonna believe me that I've been on a podcast at 10 o'clock.
Oh, it's 10:20.
you? Yeah. As much,
Just send it the clips.
yeah.
Send it the video.
All right, let's go and bring that bone apart. But no, thank you very much for your time.
Absolutely.
Definitely appreciate it.
Thank
We'll
you.
go from there. We'll see Charles County. We'll see you all on Tuesday. Go them. What's going on with you?
Yo, another day in the lab, baby. So it's always a good day.
Oh,
It's always a good day when we in the lab. You want policing to be better in your communities? The best policing that you can that can happen in any community are people that's actually from the community and that.
Once again, Rick, host BNY podcast, now known as What Effing Week with BNY Dev. How you feeling, man?
I'm in here.
What's good, comment section?
Here.
Do we drag our people down when sometimes they don't deserve it? For sure, absolutely. In this situation, this man deserves every single dragging that we can do because this is not an example of us.
But you got the angles. You got the knowledge of the game, bro.
This is where you're getting at, the IQ.
On it, down. Like he's telling you what's going on. How he was a bad husband. How he was just doing things his way. He's apologizing to his wife, like, yo.
Pat ourselves on the back for that one because if you ain't give yourself awards, I mean, who is?
Yeah, no boy.
Hey,